Good evening. I'd like to call the Lower Providence Zoning Hearing Board meeting to order. First item is pledge allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Quick roll call. Patricia Alzamora.
Here.
Kathy Esky.
Here.
Gail Hager. She's absent. George Ozarowski. He's absent. Chris Gerdes. Here. Randy Klein is absent. Keith McLennan, our solicitor. And Joe Pucci, I'm here. Thank you. Can we have someone read our statement, please?
Yep, I got that, Joe. The Zoning Hearing Board will give all interested parties an opportunity to participate in the hearing by filling out the entry of appearance form, which will be provided to you by the zoning officer, Mike Merzinski. Then you will be subject to voir dire by stating your name for the record to ensure that you qualify as an interested party under the law. Once it is determined that you are an interested party, you may ask questions and testify in connection with the applications being heard tonight. After a witness for the applicant completes testimony, you'll be given an opportunity to ask questions of that witness. In addition, after an applicant has completed its case, you'll be given an opportunity to testify, which will require you to be sworn in as a witness. A completion of an entry of appearance form is required in order for you to receive a copy of the decision and order from the board at the time it is issued, or appeal that decision and order as a person aggrieved. For the meeting, please turn off your cell phones or make sure they're on vibrate or silent.
Thank you, Chris. We have 4 hearings tonight. Can I have one of the board members read hearing number 1, please?
Sure, I will read hearing number 1. Z-21-23, James Custard, 217 Miami Avenue, Norristown, PA, 19403. The applicant is requesting relief from sections 145-37.A2 for a side yard setback of 14 feet where a minimum of 20 feet is required, and to permit building coverage of 23% where a maximum of 20% is allowed to permit an addition, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. Parcel ID number of the subject property is 43-00-08344-00-1. Subject property is located at 217 Miami Avenue and is in the R2 residential zoning district.
Thank you, Patty.
Just a correction, Patty read it as 145-37A2. It's 143-37A2.
That's called teamwork. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but Kathy did. Good job.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Custard, is he here? Please come forward. Good evening. Do you have anyone representing you or your?
My wife and I are here tonight.
Yeah, that's good enough. We're good with that.
Good.
Not a problem. Normally, Mike, when the applicant is representing himself, do you give a quick overview of the case?
Yes, thank you. I'll try to start off.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. The case before you is a residential project at 217 Miami Avenue. It's really dimensional relief that the applicant is requesting. The hardship is created somewhat because of the odd-shaped lot that the resident has here. Beyond that, they are proposing to build an addition and a deck to replace and expand onto the existing garage and the existing driveway that are on this lot. The existing garage, as it stands right now, is is legally non-conforming. The hardship is not created by the Cuthbert family themselves, in that this property was subject to the zoning change, or the change in zoning standards that occurred in 2006, and therefore made, as the board is well aware, made the properties non-conforming as of that time. There are other projects like this in the neighborhood. In fact, directly across the street from the Custreds is a resident that received relief for a addition of a detached garage back in 2007, in which they needed to come in for dimensional variances and coverages and stuff. Lastly, the last point I'd like to make is that in terms of the degree of variance being asked, as you may note from the diagram, it's hard to see from a distance, but the building envelope is diagrammed on here. The encroachment is approximately 6 feet at its broadest side. It's only essentially a foot from the existing structure. Again, recall that the garage was built to the more lenient standards prior to 2006. So really, they're only encroaching from a physical standpoint another foot beyond what the existing structure is, even though that is, in a sense, 6 feet into the required 20-foot setback. And I'll turn this over to the board and to Mr. Custard.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Do we normally swear him in? Yeah, please. Mr. Castro?
James, James, Custard, Custard. I swear. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Custard. You had given the board an application with some diagrams and whatnot. Do you want to just kind of give us an overview of what you're
Yes.
trying to accomplish?
Yes, we are a family of four, 2 young kids, and we're looking to build onto our house with an addition. And there's so it would be a 24 by 48 addition on the left side of the property. And then in the back, there is a little 4 by 10 deck. So we want to remove that deck and add approximately 20 by 28 deck to replace that. Sorry, thank you. So right off the back of the property, so the deck would extend across to the new addition, and then the existing deck is right in this region here. So we would be replacing that with something that's more user-friendly to our backyard.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board?
I have a few. The diagram's a little confusing to me, so I have a couple questions.
Sure.
And your property as well. You have 2 sheds on your property at this point?
This is a shed right here, and that is a playhouse.
Oh, okay, it looks as a shed.
Yeah, it's listed as a shed, but it's a playhouse that has a little wall on it that I made for my kids.
Okay, and then let's talk about your swimming pool.
Sure.
Is that in-ground?
It is an in-ground pool, yes.
And the decking around the in-ground pool is?
There's concrete around this side, and then on the back side, and then there is a wood deck here.
And did you put the pool in, or was it there when you bought
It was
it?
an existing pool when we moved in.
Okay.
We moved in 2011.
And then for your addition, you have a 2-car garage coming in off the street?
Yes, we're proposing a 2-car garage coming in off the street.
And then in the back, you have what appears to be a garage door in the back so that one garage can be a run-through?
That was the original plan, so I could have an entranceway, because on this part of the house, after the addition, there will not be a huge entrance point, and then my shed will be in the way way, so the thought would be I can get my lawnmower, or if I ever need to get a vehicle in the back, I could.
Do you intend to pave anything out that back garage?
On the backside?
Yes.
No,
So the idea is not you're going to run cars through to the backyard?
no, no.
So when you're finished, you're going to have a 5-bedroom house? Am I reading that correctly?
We will.
And are you having an in-law, or this is strictly for your own family?
This is strictly for our own family.
Okay, that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Kathy. Other questions from the board?
Yeah, I had one. The plan shows that the impervious area is 44% and the zoning requirement is 35%. Is that accurate, the 44%?
Based on, this is our preliminary diagram from our architect, Jolie Stevens, so that is accurate.
So you would actually need a variance for that as well?
It looks that way.
Does that include the concrete that exists at the back of your pool?
She calculated everything that was on the property, including the pool.
So the pool is included in impervious coverage, or?
She told me the pool should be included in that coverage.
I will interject that in doing these approvals, we do not count the water of the pool as impervious coverage. We only count the decking, the concrete right around the pool.
Right.
So, Chris, if I may, so did your engineer calculate the concrete decking within the, her
She-
calc?
She told me she did do everything on the property, including the pool, she told me was in the calculation of 44% for impervious.
How big is your pool?
16 by 32.
You're fortunate to have an engineer on the board over here, so he'll figure all this out.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, I'd tell you to
'Cause
come
I
back.
can't,
It's something to do now.
How do your neighbors feel about this?
We're pretty friendly with our neighbors, and no one has indicated any objections.
As long as they get to use the pool and they
As
use
long as they
the,
get to use the
yeah,
pool,
right.
yes.
yeah.
Have you actually talked to them, or you're just assuming that you have lovely neighbors?
We are quite friendly with our neighbors, and we've told the ones that will be closest to this about our intentions, and they have not expressed any concern to us.
What about the neighbor in the back?
The neighbor in the back, we are a fenced-in property. I think I've talked to him once in my lifetime, so I don't know. I don't have a lot of interactions with that neighbor.
What about runoff,
Runoff,
water?
water.
Does the property have any existing issues with runoff or water or anything like that?
I mean, it's a sloped hill, slope this way, slope that way.
All right, you moved that quickly. Sloped which way? To the left and to the back?
Yeah, from Miami Avenue slope that way, and then we're on a hill down, so it's, I mean, it's quite a bit of slope in in this Miami Avenue into Park.
So then you do have some runoff.
Our water runs down into our yard, yes.
And how do you handle that? Do you have a swale or something?
There, on this piece of the property, there is an existing drain that goes to the back of the property, and there is in between this homeowner and this on, I guess this would be 215, there's like a swell that was built, I guess, when the two homes were built.
So what you have, what's going to be under your new addition, is that piped or is that a swale? What is that?
We haven't discussed that yet.
But
We
you
don't
said, but you said it's there.
Say that one more time?
You said that it's there, that you do have some,
It's in the driveway. It's at the end of the driveway. Sorry, correct it. It's at the end of the driveway. This is in front of the driveway. So it would be at the back side right here. That's the pipe that leads to the back of the yard.
So what is it? Is it a pipe?
It's a PVC pipe that the previous owner put in.
Okay. So all this addition is going to be over your existing driveway? Is that,
A portion of it, yes. This would take most of the driveway. There's still this existing driveway up there.
anything else?
Chris, did you confirm the impervious? What did you come up with?
Yeah, it still looks like it's higher than the 35% allowed. I came up with 41%.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds to me like you want to amend your application to include a variance request for impervious surface coverage.
Okay?
I'm asking you.
Yes, I
mean,
do, yes.
The question, though, is it based upon factual references? Because do you know what she calculated or how she calculated it? Because the other question is, did she use the deck? Because the deck may not be considered as impervious either.
Okay.
So,
The wooden deck on the back,
yes.
she told me she calculated all that. Again, I don't have the detailed calculation in front of me. She never
Right.
provided me that.
Right, that's why I wonder, I mean, whether you want to continue, or whether you want to talk to your architect to get
Okay.
the true calculations. I mean, it's your call. It may be that this board is feeling generous during the Thanksgiving season and might think that it's okay. They might not, I don't know. I'm not suggesting an answer to you, I just,
Okay,
it's a question. Ordinarily, when you request a variance, it would be advertised for people to, of course, look at that variance before this hearing takes place, so that they would know. And if, in this case, you haven't asked for that variance until tonight, seems to me that you're probably better served to get your numbers figured out before you advance the application, because it could be that it'll get shot down. It might not, I don't know. It's your call. You're the driver of this bus.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's best for me to go back and confirm with Julie Stevens what she calculated in there, and then if we truly need that variance, I guess we would need to come back.
That's something that the board is interested in seeing, or do they want to make a decision based upon what's already here? It's up to you.
Let's see if we have any audience that want to ask any questions.
Your microphone's on there.
Sorry.
Not as secret as she. It's, Kathy was suggesting, if there's anyone here in the audience who would want to participate first before we make a decision. Was there anyone here?
Looks like Mr. Rosinski has something to say.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
If, just for the, to add to the comfort level perhaps of the board, I do want to point out that the increase in impervious coverage, regardless of whether it meets the standard or exceeds it, will require a stormwater plan to be produced by the architect as part of the building permit process. So in terms of how the new addition would be, will handle stormwater, if you will, I think that's grammatically incorrect, but you know where I'm going with that. They will have to design stormwater to deal with that because it does exceed the 1,200 square feet limit of the Chapter 129 stormwater ordinance.
Okay, Mike, thank you.
Still doesn't solve the problem, though, does it? Which is, he still has to ask for a variance in order to get to that point. If he doesn't get his variance, he doesn't get to that point.
Yes, I didn't mean to disrail it. I just want to add that piece of.
Got it. Thank you.
Why don't we continue with the hearing, and then we'll make a decision, you know, one way or the other, if that's all right with you, Mr.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that good? Okay. Any other testimony from your part? Anything else you want to add?
No.
Well, what's, I don't want to go too legal on you, but what's the hardship?
The hardship.
There's a 5-part test that you have to meet
Okay.
in order to get a variance. And the first element to that 5-part test is that you have to demonstrate that there's a hardship that's denying you the reasonable use of your property. So typically that comes about as a result of a unique lot, Mike, Mr. Brzezinski sort of alluded to it, it seems to me, when he talked about the zoning change.
Yeah.
But would the zoning, if it hadn't been changed, would it still permit you to build this addition, do you know?
So, can you ask the question one more time?
Sure. If the zoning had not changed
Yeah.
in 2006, I
think you
believe,
said, yep.
if it hadn't changed then, and you still had the same rules today, would you be able to build the addition without a variance? Do you know?
I don't know, I wasn't even in the township in 2006, so I can't answer that question. I don't know what your codes were. It sounds like the hardship is the unique dimensions and the changes that require the 20-foot on the sidewall and the 20, less than 20% allowable coverage.
I know we've talked about this before, Mike, and I just don't remember because I have a lot of gray hair and fewer brain cells. But do you remember what the ordinance provided in 2006 as far as the side yard setback?
I believe it was 15 feet.
15 feet.
And not only do I recall it that way, but also the fact that the existing garage, in which is the primary structure or kind of the footprint for how this is addition going to be built, is built to 15 feet.
Which would validate that
Yes.
measurement.
Yes.
See how we can work through these things?
Yes, yes, I appreciate
He,
it.
he's your best friend over there,
Yes.
so. So in essence, but for the change in the ordinance, you'd be able to build that addition, is what it sounds like to me. So that's, now we're getting into this unique area that would build this hardship concept.
Okay.
Are there others who have additions in the neighborhood that would be similar to what you're proposing?
There are other additions, some of our neighbors, but I don't know particularly similar to ours, besides the garage that was across the way that Mike mentioned earlier, which was directly across the street from us.
One of the things I'm looking for, again, this is my role as the solicitor, is to meet this test that we talk about. The character of the neighborhood is important. For example, if you were to put a graphite mill on your property, that wouldn't fit within the character of the neighborhood, obviously.
I would agree, yes.
An addition that, how large is this building going to be once it's completed with the addition? Not with the decking and not with the pool and not with the sheds, et cetera. How, the residential structure, how large would that be?
The new building area is up here, which is that what you're asking, the new building?
Yeah, it's hard to read in the
Yes,
exhibits.
yeah.
Looks like it's,
It's going to be, the total building area would be 4,421. 4,000.
oh, I see, 4421, that's what it looks like, yes,
Yeah.
okay. So 4,400 square feet. Are there other houses in that neighborhood that are 4,400 square feet in size? Doesn't have to be precise, what's your opinion?
I would say yes.
Okay,
Maybe not necessarily right on Miami Avenue, but on Woodland Avenue, there's some very large houses.
Mike, do you have an aerial at all? These? Is that your place?
This is our house right here, 217 Miami. This is our neighbors two down. They have an addition a few years back. This is the property that Mike spoke of earlier with the big garage it was placed on.
That's the one that that Mike referred to as got relief recently?
I think in 2007, you mentioned.
Okay. So there's a few properties in that neighborhood that exceed the other sized buildings, is what it looks like, or homes, right? Okay. All right, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Yes.
What else do you have in your backyard? You have the pool, the playhouse, the shed,
This is a mulch area for a play. There's a little play set right here. That's the pole with the concrete. This is the wooden deck. And this back here is a little synthetic ice area that is lay down blocks for my son. He plays hockey.
And is there any interior fencing?
Oh, there is a fence around the pole. And then there is a wooden fence around the backyard for our two dogs.
Okay.
Sounds like you need a basketball court next.
We have a hoop right here, but yeah.
I'm sorry, you may have said this. Are you going to leave the existing shed where it is, or is that moving?
That would have to move into the approximately 20 feet in the backyard.
It's moving back, not closer to the side yard?
Not closer to the side yard, no.
Thanks.
Just directly back.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Custard. Any other questions?
The audience, perhaps.
Anyone in the audience want to share any thoughts?
You have the right to ask questions, and if you want to say anything, you have to be sworn in as testimony. So it doesn't sound like that everybody's here for your exciting project. They're here for some other exciting projects.
Yes.
All right, great. Mr. Custard, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be
Okay.
back. Thank you.
Very much.
Call brief recess. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Mr. Custard, please come up.
All right, now, Mr. Custard, the board has deliberated. They're still concerned about this impervious coverage because we don't have the facts.
Sure.
So what I had suggested to you on a sidebar was essentially to request a continuance so that you can get those calculations and bring them back at the next hearing, which is going to be, I forget now, but it'll be before Christmas, obviously. And that way you can present it. I would suggest that you do it either by testimony from your architect, although I don't want to cause you the pain of having to spend a lot of money for that, or some sort of written submission that can educate the board as to whether you're going to need the impervious variance or not.
Okay.
So if you're amenable to that,
Yes, I agree to the continuance and requesting a continuance. I do believe there was an attachment too that showed a little bit of different dimensions, so I will go back and make sure I have detailed impervious calculations and detailed on how we got to that number.
right, and I would suggest that you perhaps have your architect talk to Mr. Mrozinski
Okay.
to find out, because some townships are different than others in terms of their ordinances and in terms of the way that they interpret their ordinances as it relates to that calculation.
Okay,
All right?
makes sense.
So they should talk to know how, whether the pool counts, whether the wood deck counts, whether the concrete counts, et cetera. All right?
Okay. Can I ask
Yeah.
one follow-up question? If
Sure.
after that calculation, it's below the 35%, do I need to come back for the additional continuance?
Yes,
Still do-
to
okay.
render a decision, but
Okay.
you'll at least be able to report to this board what you determined, what you found.
Makes sense.
All right?
Yep.
And when you request a continuance, one of the conditions that's imposed is that you're waiving the municipality's planning code, which provides that a decision has to be made within 45 days of the filing, or of this hearing, I should say. So that's going to be continued as well. Is that acceptable to you?
It is. Yes.
So, Mr. Chair, it's back to
Yes,
you for a motion.
Absolutely. I'd like to make a motion on hearing Z 21-23, James Custard, 217 Miami Avenue, Norristown, PA, 19403, that we continue it to our next meeting. Mike, do you know the date?
I believe it's December 23rd.
To our next meeting, December 23rd. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second it, Joe.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any housekeeping to do?
No, we'll do those at the next meeting. Now, as I believe I informed the board as well as Mr. Mrozinski, The next hearings, I am recusing myself because even though previously the board denied those applications, I was not sitting as solicitor for those cases. I recused myself then as well, so I'm deferring to our on-deck solicitor, if you will, Mr. Eric Fry. So I would part with you now, if I'm excused.
Thank you, Mr. McLennan. You're excused.
Thank you.
Board welcomes Eric Fry.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So we have 3 hearings, all with Mikeland LLC. And the way we're going to proceed is we're going to read each hearing number, and then hear each one at a time. And then we'll probably deliberate and then make a decision at that point. Eric, I don't know if you, before we read the first case, if you have any opening comments, or do you want us to read the first case first?
Why don't you start the first
First
case, and then
case
I'll
is-
enter in some
All
board
right,
exhibits
sounds
after
good.
that.
Wonderful. Can I have someone read hearing number 2, please?
I'll do that. Hearing number 2, Z2124, Mike Link LLC, PO Box 243, Fairview Village, PA 19409. This matter was previously before the board as Z1919. The board decided against the applicant's request, which subsequently was appealed. The Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas reversed the board's decision without specification. The applicant is back before the board to supply dimensional conditions per 143-37, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. The parcel ID subject property is 4300-0502-0004. Subject property is located on 4th Street and is the residential R2 zoning district.
Thank you, Kathy. Do we have someone here representing Mikeland?
Yes, sir. My name is Mike Clement. I'm an attorney from Bluebell, Pennsylvania. I'm also a principal owner of Mikeland LLC, and I'm here with my partner, who is also a principal, or the other principal, and his name is Len Del Grippo.
Thank you. Swear in first, or Eric, do you want to?
Yeah, so what,
Swear
are you
in.
going to be your only witness?
Yes, I will be my own witness,
Okay.
and I may ask Len if we have questions.
Sure,
about
why don't we just swear you both in then, okay?
it. That's perfect.
Yep.
Yes. I do.
So I'm going to put a couple exhibits on the record if I
Sure.
could, so.
Got it.
So the board exhibits tonight are going to be B1 is the application package, B2 is the legal notice, B3 will be the proof of publication, B4 will be the certificate of notifications, B5 will be the certificate of posting, and B6 will be the prior decision in this matter, which was dated September 26, 2019, and it was in application Z1919. And also, I believe there's somebody here for the township, if you want to enter your appearance as well.
Yeah, Frank Diamore on behalf of Lower Providence Township.
And then we should ask, in this case, I see a lot of members of the public, and again, this application, have you gone through the rules this evening with everybody on the prior application?
We have not.
Okay, so, do you have
Please.
a reading, do you just want me to do it?
Oh, no, we did the reading.
Oh, we did our
did it.
statement. Yeah, we did the
Okay.
statement. So, that- yes.
Yeah, so, so they did a statement of how we handle things, but just briefly go over it for everyone, in case you weren't here, is the applicant will present their case. There'll be questions from the board, questions from the public of any witnesses they put on. The township has entered their appearance. The applicant then can make argument and will allow any member of the public to also be sworn in and make it a statement for or against the application at the end. So really, the first round will be questions. Any statements you want to make will be at the end of the hearing. But I want to ask if anybody wants to become a party to this application. You do not have to be a party to the application to act or ask questions or make a statement. There is no cost to become a party, but if the really benefit of you is that you could appeal this, and at that point, there may be some cost to appeal. Does anybody want to enter their appearance? And again, this is the one that's located on 4th Street. So does anybody want to enter their appearance in this application? If you could, come up and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Brian Heiser, BrianHeiser. My address is 2976 5th Street. I'm approximately 240 feet away from this property.
And you received one of the notices of this
I did.
application. All right, any objection from the applicant?
No, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yep.
Taylor Hallowell. I live at 2952 Second Street.
Spell your name, sir, for the record.
What's that?
Spell your name for the record.
Hallowell.
And how far are you from the property?
4th Street?
Yeah.
About 250 feet, maybe 300 feet.
And you received a written notice of this application?
I think so, yeah.
All right, any objection?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. You have a
That's
chance
it?
for, you have a
I can't
chance for
say anything
questions.
else now?
Nope, not right now. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, so at this point, it would be appropriate for the applicant to present their case. All right?
You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As I indicated before, my name's Mike Clement, and I'm one of the principals of the builder. Just a little background. My partner Len Del Grippo and I have built houses. His father before him was a partner of mine as well, and his partner. And we've built several hundred houses in this region of Montgomery County and dozens of houses in Lower Providence Township over the past 3 decades. And we are proud of the product we build. One of the reasons we're here tonight is that we will not build a modular or we don't build mobile homes, we don't build modular homes, we don't build homes where they get packed together in a box and sent out. We build only semi-custom homes or custom homes. That's all we build. Some of the construction that you can see in your community that we have done recently would be on 4th Street, Hillside Avenue, where we've taken a lot similar to the ones that we're talking about this evening, some wider. And we've built a very lovely 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath, full basement, 2-car garage home. So, and also we've built homes in your community down on Level Road, and we're pretty well known for value, although we will not build cheap. We use 2x6 construction instead of 2x4 construction. We don't do homes without moldings. We don't do clamshell molding. We do a very substantial home, value for money. So this particular lot, I'm just going to go through the application so that we get everything on the record. This will be repetitive because the applications are almost all the same. But in this particular lot, we are the equitable owner. In other words, we have this lot under agreement. And the agreement of sale is attached to the packet. So I'm not going to ask you to mark that as an exhibit, but if you were to look in your packet, you'll see a standard agreement under the PAR Realtors form with respect to this property. The owners of these properties are Everett, Inc., Grace Building Co., Inc. These entities are owned by Charlie Breinig, who's one of the principals. We are not partners with Charlie. I know him, and that's how I came to enter into this agreement of sale. We do not build homes for Charlie. We are completely independent. Just Len and I, and that's it. So as equitable owners, under the municipality's planning code, we are permitted to come here and ask for this relief. If you wish, I guess I can put in the record that it's Mike Len LLC, and that is a limited liability company in Pennsylvania, which is like a corporation, but it's Lenny and I. And this company's been around for, again, decades. We don't try to have one company for every development so we can run away from things. We use one company, and we have been successful.
Mr. Clement, if I may interrupt. Mr. Hollowell, we understand that you would like to speak. However, with us all having masks, it's difficult to hear everything, and if you keep making remarks, we're going to miss things. So I'm going to ask you to please hold your remarks till when it's your turn to speak.
It's not easy. I'll try.
Well, thank you for that. I know it's not
I
easy.
only have a couple minutes here.
We'll give you plenty of time.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
So,
So please continue.
thank you, Ms. Esky. So our office is located on Germantown Pike, but we have a post office box. It's 243, and it's in Fairview Village. My number, is in the application. As far as previous appeals are concerned, the property was the subject of Z-19-19, where the owner requested similar relief. We believe that our product would be much, much better for the neighborhood than the owners. The property is approximately 4,000 square feet on 4th Street. It's 40 by 100. Tax parcel 43-000-50-2-0004. Property is vacant, and it's located in the R2 zoning district. Property will be served by public water and public sewer. A Google map image, which is not very good, except in the original, was submitted with the application. The property, nearly all of the homes in the neighborhood are on properties that do not comply with the R2 requirement. They don't have the area, they don't have the setbacks. It's just the way this particular neighborhood, which is a nice neighborhood, developed. Applicant respectfully requests that the property is comprised of a pre-existing non-conforming residential building lot, and this has already been recognized by the township and the zoning hearing board here, as well as the court. We did not have anything to do with that prior application or with the appeal. We are only here for ourselves with respect to this tonight. We have shown a proposed plan for the property, which is what you see. The proposed dwelling will fit within the envelope. It meets all of the zoning requirements for impervious coverage, for everything except for the dimensional requirements for setbacks and area. Excuse me for 1 second. That plot plan that you see has been fully engineered except for the grading plan for the retention of water. But it will be engineered for the retention of water, but it can't be done so without knowing what can be constructed on the property, okay? But it is fully engineered. And if Mike can go to the section to show the building plans, that might be helpful for the board and the audience. And I'm glad he's doing this because I'd be in New Jersey. So I'd like to go to the, Mike, if we could, to the elevations that show the building. That's it. Okay. So what we've done is we asked our architect, and these are sealed architect's plans. They are complete plans. They are what the township requires in terms of all of the information that's in them. We went to our architect and said, we want a custom home that will look right in scale on this lot and in the neighborhood. So you have the home showing the frontage. Now, it is approximately 24 feet wide and I believe about 45 feet deep. And this particular home has a single-car garage. It will have a full basement, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, okay? And you can see that we do not like to skimp on windows. It will be a bright home. The windows that you see in the front and the back are what we normally use on even our larger houses. The architectural details on this home are intended to fit within the historical aspects of this neighborhood, and that's why we asked our architect to design it this way. There are columns in the front. There are returns on the roof, so it's just not a roof that comes down flat and lays down. It actually returns. And we will use architectural siding. So hopefully the neighbors would find this more attractive than a 16-foot wide, basically a, for all intent and purposes, a mobile home. Mike, if I can explain a little bit about the layout of the floor, it might be helpful. Okay, so, oh, you got it. Yes, thank you. So as you can see, we're looking now down from the top to the first floor. On the right-hand side is the garage, and on the left-hand side is the foyer. And as you go back through the foyer, you can see the rear of the house is entirely open. It leads, in the middle there's a chevron shape. Okay, maybe I can use this. I apologize. Okay, so there's the garage, there's the foyer. This is the kitchen area, which is chevron shaped. There's a family area here, and then a dining area here. Okay, and then there's in here this is all kitchen with cabinetry, and in here there's an area for a small desk or whatever. Then we go up the stairs, and if you could help me, Mike, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so when we come up the stairs, you have, this is the owner's bedroom, so to speak, with a walk-in closet and a kitchen that has a full bath, 2 sinks. And then in this area, we've got another bathroom that serves 2 bedrooms in the rear. And there are closets that are scattered here, 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 and I believe there's another one here. So, and underneath this will be a full basement. We do not build on slab. We do not think it is appropriate for neighborhoods that we like to build in.
What about Fifth Street?
Uh,
He put a slab in there, didn't he?
No, not, we, excuse me. I'll just answer the question so that we don't disturb anyone, but we never build on slab. That's a full basement home. Anyway, the code that we're looking for relief from, for the neighbor's sake, requires 30,000 square feet, a minimum front yard setback of 50 feet, and a minimum rear setback of 60 feet. And that's under code section 143.37, point capital A, parentheses 2. Like many of the other non-conforming lots in the neighborhood, the property is 100 feet deep. And if we can go back to that, to the lot plan, Michael, I'm sorry to do this to you, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's a typical depth of lot, although a lot of the lots are wider than this. This is a very narrow lot. This is a 40-foot lot, okay? But we are seeking variances to reduce the minimum lot area to below 30,000 square feet, reduce the front yard setback to permit the construction of the home to, as you can see, the setback to the garage is 20 feet, okay? But that is pretty, that's not unusual in this neighborhood. And the rear setback, as you can see, is about 30 feet. And again, in this neighborhood, that's not terribly different. The side yards are situated enough to give the ability. This is 24 feet wide, so you've got 8 feet on each side, which allows you to move things from the front to back and so forth. Okay. This property, and again, all of these properties, but I'll repeat this over, this property has been the subject of an application previously filed by the Zoning Hearing Board, Lower Providence Township, which found that it was indeed a pre-existing non-conforming lot. But it did deny the applicant at that time, who was the owner of the property, who testified that he wanted to build a home that was 26 feet wide by 55 feet long with a 10-foot by 12-foot deck. And then later he offered to build a mobile modular home, which was to be 14 feet wide by 66 feet deep. That was rejected. He then appealed to the Court of Common Pleas in Montgomery County, and the court rendered an order saying, quote, "The appeal and relief requested herein or therein is granted, and the decision of the Lower Providence Zoning Hearing Board is hereby reversed." The court order requires Lower Providence Township to permit a construction of a home on the lot. It is our position that the court really didn't say that it was going to limit the size of the home. What the applicant would end up building here, the owner, not us, is, for all intent and purposes, a modular home or a mobile home, which the court says he can build, which is 14 feet wide, 66 feet long, and looks like a trailer. We don't think that that is good for, we won't build it. We won't buy a lot, period. Okay, somebody will, they will, somebody's going to build it. We won't build that kind of thing. We think that what we've offered in terms of this plot plan and the previously shown architectural drawings are good for us, good for the neighbors, good for the surrounding community. In the alternative, the applicant is requesting relief pursuant to a variance request. In other words, the first request that I just made to you was based upon the fact that the court did not order any specific size, but they did order that he could build what he showed, which was this trailer, okay? We're saying that since the court didn't order what was reasonable in terms of size, you can make that decision. In the alternative, we're asking you please to consider a dimensional variance application, and that's under Hertzberg versus Zoning Hearing Board of Adjustment of the City of Pittsburgh, which is a case that I cited in my application that Mr. Fry knows, like all of us who do dirt law, we know it very well. And that can be found at 721 Atlantic 2nd, 43, and it's a Pennsylvania case that goes back to 1998. And in that case, the court said the Zoning Hearing Board has discretion, and it may consider multiple factors, including the economic detriment to the applicant if the variance is denied. Well, from my perspective, the economic detriment to us is simple. We don't get to build a house because we're not going to build a house that's, we're not going to build a trailer, okay? It can also include the financial hardship created by any work necessary to bring the proposed project into strict compliance with the zoning requirements and the characteristics of the surrounding neighborhood. There is no way to bring this lot into compliance. The court has ordered that it is a building lot and you must allow building on it. And please don't take that from me as in any way, adversarial or a threat. I don't mean it that way whatsoever. It's just that there's a court order out there that says that this lot can be built on. The characteristics of the surrounding neighborhood is interesting because it's particularly compelling that our request to you is to build a stick-built, custom, semi-custom home that, from our perspective, is far better for us and the neighborhood than the 66 by 14 foot trailer. There are unique circumstances with respect to the property. These are movie lots. Any of us who've grown up, I know Ms. Esky and I go back a little bit, and probably I go back a lot longer than she does, but movie lots were these things that were given to people under a certificate. If you went to the movies often enough, or went to the Acme often enough, or whatever it is, you got a certificate, and eventually you got a lot. And they were normally 20 feet wide, and they got put together into 40-foot lots, and then some got put together in 50-foot lots, or 60-foot lots. And then somebody would come along and build a road, and they say, okay, that's a development. Well, that's what happened here. So the property can't be developed in accordance with the code. Dimensional variances are necessary and have been granted already by the court, and the hardship has not been created by the applicant. The requested variances that would allow us to build this home, if granted, would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. The essential character of the neighborhood is, it's a nice neighborhood. It has some small homes and it has some larger homes. And I think this fits right within the substantial character of the neighborhood, especially the way it's been designed by us to be kind of a colonial, older-looking style house. It won't substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or the development of the adjacent properties. It will not be detrimental to the public safety, welfare, and it will not impact in any adverse way about the existing systems that are there. That is the roadway, the water, and the sewer. And if granted, it will represent the minimum reasonable variance that will afford appropriate relief. So if you have questions about any of this, I'll be happy to answer them for you. That is the case that we would like to put in for this particular property. My partner, Len, is here if you have questions about how we build things. And we'll be pleased to answer them.
Questions from the board?
I have questions. I'm confused on your application as to sewer and water. First it says, if applicable, then it says it is, then it says under 16, some things are crossed out. So explain to me how you're going to have water and sewer on these
The-
lots?
Sewer is available in the street. Water, I talked to Mr. Rossi, who is the representative of the water company in this area, and he said he can serve this property. The one property where and I may have confused this in the applications, Ms. Esty, there is one property, and I think it's on Fifth Street, where we've got to go around the corner to get to water, which we are going to do. And if the water company won't let us do it, we'll put a well in. But I am relatively certain that I can get the water company to allow us to go down the paper street, which already exists there, and out to Sunnyside. But not on this property. This property's got sewer and water.
So just to make it easier going into the other applications, we don't want to confuse them because we want to give the residents opportunity for each individual thing.
Yes,
If you cannot do the water as you want and you have to go in a different direction, will you have to cross over anyone's property to get water?
no,
Okay. And on this particular property, 4th Street,
yes.
is all of 4th Street paved?
Fourth Street is a paper street that, as you know, runs off of Hillside Avenue. This portion of Fourth Street is paved. As you go further west, I think, it ends, even though there's a paper street shown on your plans, I don't know what happens there.
So uphill, west or uphill?
Uphill.
Uphill.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to give them a way to think about which way west is.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mike, is it possible to put a Google shot up that the visual will help me? Thank you.
So this portion that you want to build this house on is paved
Yes,
before this lot and after this lot? So I could drive up that street to this house?
yes.
And are there perhaps curbing there?
I don't. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, but it is paved.
Yes. I did send a Google map in so that we could have it, but they don't copy well.
No problem.
Yeah, the driveway shown there, is that going to be paved to the street?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you're familiar with water runoff.
Oh, am I
Oh,
ever?
yeah, all of that, so we may not have to worry about that.
You will not. Our
And-
engineer is very familiar with that.
This one has an L-shaped property that wraps around it. Kind of
You have any potential buyers for any of these properties?
Right there. No. We have spec'd a number of properties in this neighborhood, and people love the neighborhood.
Are the other properties in hearing number 3 or 4 adjacent to this at all?
No.
Next to it, they're separate, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Thank you.
All within a couple hundred yards of each other. Separate maybe.
Other questions? No?
townships. No. Greg, you have any questions? Sorry, I forgot your last name, Greg. I apologize.
First name too.
I'm sorry, I thought I wrote down Greg.
Hey, you, get up here.
Frank Diamore.
Frank, I wrote down the wrong name, Frank
It's okay.
Diamore.
D apostrophe capital A,
Yeah.
M-O-R-E.
Yep. Gotcha.
We can share the podium, I guess.
Sure, go ahead, I don't want to crowd you.
Okay, I just had a couple of questions. Mike, if we could go back to that plot plan. Sort of following up on some of the questions Ms. Esky had.
Yes.
You're proposing a sewer lateral, what is that, like 120 feet to the manhole there?
You have the pointer.
Yeah, pointer should be right.
Yeah,
Unless Mike stole it. Mike, you have the,
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
you have the pointer there.
there you go.
So just for everybody's reference, I was referencing right here, and that's a 4-inch pipe from your property line all the way out to this manhole?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that typical? You would agree with me that it's not typical to extend a lateral?
No, it is not typical. Because of the nature of where the sewer is, that's the only way we can put it in.
Are you sure you're going to be able to put it in that way? What assurances do you have?
We asked our engineer is, excuse me, I thought I turned this darn thing off. I apologize. Now I'm gonna turn it off. Our engineer is Nick Fiola, and a licensed engineer, and he has contacted your engineer in the township as well as the sewer authority, and to determine if there's appropriate fall and if this would be an acceptable connection. We've done that with the water as well as the sewer. The water's easy, the only one, and I won't confuse this application. Here, it's all available to us.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And this, I can sort of see it just because of this plot plan, but does Mike Len LLC own any lots adjacent to 4th Street lot here?
Unfortunately, no.
And do you individually, Mr. Clement, own any of these lots adjacent to this 4th Street lot here?
Again, unfortunately, no.
And and I'm sorry if I...
It's Leonard Del Grippo.
Mr. Del-
No, I don't.
Or Greg Del Grippo, if you want to follow up the way. I'm
Just for the
kidding.
record, the question I was going to ask was just if Mr. Del Grippo individually or through any other business entity owned a lot adjacent to this 4th Street lot, and his answer was no.
No.
And while you're looking at your notes, just to pick up on those, the property owner, and I know you went through, and Mr. Breinig, either individually or through one of his entities, do they own any lots adjacent to this tract?
No.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you touched on this a little, Mr. Clement. Obviously, the impervious that you're creating here is going to be over 1,200 square feet.
The impervious is on the, let me sneak in here. The impervious meets the requirements of the code. And if I had a magnifying glass,
It's on the screen in front of you, if you can read.
thank you. Required for building coverage is 20%, and we are, we provide, I'm so sorry. I can't read it.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. Okay, so the lot area we don't meet, the building line width we don't meet, the front yard we don't meet, and the side yard, rear yards we don't meet. Okay, as far as the building coverage is concerned, we have a 29% building coverage, a impervious coverage of 31%, which is less than the requirement, and the maximum building height is, I believe, 35 feet.
All right, thank you. So maybe I should have posed my question a little better. In the subsequent applications, I will. The 1,235 square feet of impervious coverage, do you plan on submitting a stormwater management plan to the township?
Yes, sir. We've already discussed that with the township engineer, and he did not advise us, but he suggested that before we did that engineering, we had to know what relief, if any, was going to be granted by the board, because that'll tell us how much water we have to control.
Okay. And would you have any objection to approval of the township engineer and the submission of a stormwater management plan
Absolutely not. No objection whatsoever.
being a condition upon this approval?
It can be a condition upon this approval if the board sees fit to grant it.
And a similar question, some of the questions about that Ms. Esky asked with the water and the sewer, would you have any objection to a condition on, if the board so sees it fit, the approval being conditioned upon tapping into public water and sewer for 4th Street property here?
No, we don't have an objection to that, and would make that a condition if the board deems it appropriate to grant relief.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now the public.
I have another question.
Mr. Plenty, I have another question. Did you say the lot was 40 foot wide?
Yes,
And then what's the width of the front of the house?
24 feet.
24, okay, thanks. That's it.
Correct. Does anyone from the public have any questions? Not statements, but questions of the applicant. These are questions. You'll have an opportunity to make a statement a little bit later, but anybody have any questions about what was presented or any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Hallowell?
I don't have questions for him.
All right, just questions.
want to say what I have to say.
Nope,
Nope.
we're going to throw you in, it's not time for that yet, so,
I don't have.
I understand. Mr. Heiser, since you made your appearance.
Sir, my main question right now is concern of which a lot of my neighbors have expressed previously with the zoning of this property and other ones proposing this evening. And maybe we can discuss that, is the lot in question right here does have a slope away from 4th Street continuing down to the back end of the property. Is that correct, sir? Being a resident of the neighborhood,
Yes.
sir, I can assure you it is. Okay.
I don't want to, I apologize. There
Okay.
are 3 of them tonight.
I understand.
I've visited all of them several times.
I understand.
Yes, it slopes back.
Okay. As similar with another construction you possibly have having going on 5th Street right now, it's the same condition of the slope of which we're going on here. What are your plans in order to control runoff water? I understand there's going to engineering and things like that have to be discussed with this variance and otherwise conditional of this variance.
Yes.
With that, has there been discussion of how to potentially control the water runoff, which is a large concern, a majority of the persons in this room?
Yes. We understand, and because of how much we've built, that water is a major concern for neighborhoods, especially when there's a small lot. That's the first thing we did. We've spent money to get the plan fully engineered in terms of the plot, except for that, the grading plan, and we've spent a significant amount of money because each one of these 2 homes is architecturally separate and drawn separately. Before we spent that money, which is in the neighborhood of many, many thousands of dollars, we talked to our engineer to make sure that we would meet the township requirements with respect to water. And that includes not only how you collect it, but how you release it. So we asked him if he would do a quick and dirty analysis for us, came out to the lot and looked at all 3 of these lots.
before we went forward. Because we didn't want to get into a situation where we spent all this money, came here, begged for relief, and then couldn't build it or would run into a water problem. I've been assured that we can meet the standards of the township. If we can't build. But to answer your question succinctly, yeah, we looked at it, we asked them to look at it, we asked them to walk it, all three of them, and tell us, is this gonna be something we can do? And the answer was yes.
And with that, sir, have you had success with properties of this size, potential of this grade, in actually controlling runoff in other areas within Lower Providence Township?
No,
You have not had success in controlling water, or you just haven't had that experience?
we haven't had that experience, and I,
Okay.
you know, just haven't built on a 40-foot wide lot in Lower Providence. Built them elsewhere, but not ever here.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. That's all the questions I have for this lot.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the public have questions for the applicant? Sure, come on up. Just state your name since you haven't been identified yet, and your address, if you would.
Stacy Remkowitz, it's spelled R-Y, M as in Mary, Kiewicz. I reside at 400 Hillside Avenue, which is a corner of 4th and Hillside,
Gotcha. Yep.
right at the
Yes,
corner.
exactly, yep.
So the question that I have for the board is, now that we're here again tonight, since the county has approved that something can be built on this lot, can Lower Providence's board stop them from building?
So that's a legal question, so I'll reply to that. So no, we cannot. So, and I think Mike said this, and it got mushed around in his opening, but essentially what the property owner, who's not Mike, he has it under agreement of sale to, Mr. Clement, I apologize. The property owner has a right today to come out and build a 14-foot wide by 66 feet long modular home.
Modular home.
So he's absolute right to do that. He'd come in tomorrow, get building permits. He'd have to go through the same stormwater and all that and apply for it, but he's got a right to come in and apply for that and build that.
And build that
So
right now.
what the applicant is proposing to do is, rather than a modular home, come in here and build a stick-built home that's more colonial in style. Their argument, again, I'm not saying, but this is their argument, that it's more in keeping with the neighborhood. The setbacks are a little different. His property is proposed to be 24 feet wide.
Yes.
So instead of 14 foot wide, so obviously the setback, side yard setback's a little, the 66-foot wide, and I think you were a little wrong when the one side's 45 foot long, but where the garage juts out, it's 50 feet wide. So it's 45 to 50, you're in the ballpark, but your plan had it. But they're 66 feet deep, so they had a shallower rear yard than what Mike's, so it's a plus and minus on the setbacks. But to really answer your question is no, is that no matter what we do, a house is going to be put on this lot. Yes.
And that's, I just wanted to, before this goes any further into the next three.
And it's the same for the other two as well.
It's the same for the other. It's the
Numbers
same.
are different, but the issue's the same.
But, so where our choices are a trailer
Yep,
or a stick-built home,
correct.
if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, and it'd be appropriate, I think, when we get to the statement section, if you prefer one or
I
the
will
other,
back.
come up and tell us that,
I
yes.
just wanted to
Yep.
confirm that that's what our options were, so that way everybody here knows that we are not stopping a building.
Yep.
Something's getting built, it's just a matter of what's getting
And what happened, and again, and all three of these cases are the same, is where they came here, this board said no, the applicant, or excuse me, the owner took it up to the court said, we're wrong, you have to allow them to build here, so now we're just trying to find out
What
what's
to build.
most appropriate for the neighborhood.
That's all I wanted to
Okay.
confirm, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Other questions from the public, neighbors? Okay. Do you have a question?
It's the only time for questions, there's state, okay. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Anyone want to provide a statement in opposition?
Mr. Hallowell?
This guy does not do what he says. He's dishonorable. He built a house in my backyard. He promised me 6 trees, and now I'm getting none. And he hasn't even finished. I talked to the owner of the house. He's got a whole bunch of things, and he told me point blank, I ain't calling him. So you tell me what kind of guy this is, and you're going to let him run around building houses in my neighborhood. I've already got one in my backyard. I don't need more. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't even know why we have these meetings, because you guys just do whatever you want anyway. So there it is. I'm going to go home. I've waited this long. I'm in pain. I got to go. But my point is, this guy's not honorable.
Mr. Hallwell, I'm offended by your statement that we do whatever we want. We have guidelines, and we have rules, and we have courts, and we have to follow them. So we just don't willy-nilly do whatever we want. I understand.
That way because
Excuse me, I'm speaking. I understand your frustration. We are trying to do the very best. We live in this community as well.
Has anybody been in my neighborhood?
Yes,
Any of you?
yes,
Have you all looked? At
Yes.
a 4,000 square foot lot that he wants to put a house on. There's no room. It's in somebody's front yard. I'm going home. Have a nice day. Decide what you want. I know what you're going to do.
Okay, let's move on. Any other statements? For or against? Yes.
No offense to you guys, but as much as we didn't want a home built there, obviously something's coming. And in my opinion, Del Grippo did do a beautiful job with the house that you built on Hillside. So if we have to choose, I would prefer a stick home over a trailer any day. So I appreciate your time. This has been a long, drawn-out process, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with the resident that's just up here. Again, nothing against you. You have obvious barriers that you're trying to overcome with the width of this lot, and you're doing the best you can. And as a resident of the neighborhood, in my opinion, it would be best to have a stick-built home over whatever the actual owner wanted to propose to put in there, which would be a trailer. My only concern that I've ever had with any of these properties is nothing you can control, but in the future upon sale, that their neighbors' properties are going to be encroached due to the limits of it. And if some type of fencing or something could be used to define the property limits to ensure the neighbors are not encroached upon, I think it would be preferred. But again, I can't tell you what to build. I do appreciate what you have represented to show what you're planning to build up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Gentleman in the back? No? You're good? Okay. All right.
Anything else from? Come on up.
Oh, please.
Hi, my name is David Belch, B-E-L-C-H. I live at 2966 4th Street. The proposed property will be directly out my front door. So obviously, like much like the rest of the residents, I would prefer that this small lot wouldn't be built upon. I do agree with them that if something has to go there, I would prefer to see a stick-built home, something that fits the character better of the neighborhood. So I just wanted to state that. I do think that, along with the rest of the residences, this lot seems way too small to be built upon. It's been cared for by, my neighbors for many years. I thought that, it was, whatever the ordinance is, that if you take care of a property long enough, it falls under your jurisdiction, but apparently that's not the case here, so that's all I have to say, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Name and address for the code.
Name, first name David, last name Meckes, M-E-C-K-E-S. I live at 419 Sunnyside Avenue. I don't know if this is more a question or just bringing up to them. I'm here for the next hearing, but as opposed, with this one, again, I'm not for a trailer on any of them. I'm not for building really on any of them. They're not meeting code from 2006. However, this is a better choice. I agree with that. My question, or statement, I guess, should say, was brought up with the sewer situation here. I don't know where this is located on 4th Street as opposed to Fall and all that, like off a hillside. I'm just here to ask about the sewer. So if they have to dig that far, I understand they have to dig that far.
So he's showing you, okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Which way would be hillside, right or left?
Right over about.
That way.
So this is hillside, so then you're going like up the strip, up, or,
Right.
I don't know if that road falls down or up, I don't know which way it goes.
Goes up.
It goes up slightly.
Yeah.
So I guess my question too is, the houses around that, are they on the septic system, or are they, that this sewer doesn't go that far to connect to other houses? But regardless, if they have to dig to there, are you gonna stipulate that they just have to pave where they dug, or do they have to fix the entire road, the length of what they dug? I had to deal with this situation in another township, that's why just for other residents, so it's just not a patch job where they dug, whether it be to the water or all the way to the sewer. Is that road gonna be fixed the entire width of the road, or just the patch that they dug? That's my question. I don't know if that's an ordinance.
That's
in
a
the
question, I
township
think.
or- You understand what I'm asking?
Cut back a foot wider
Yeah.
than the trench on each side.
Right. So you're not gonna pave the width of the street, the length that you dug it, you're just gonna patch, say, 3 feet, you're
No,
bucket,
if it's a 3-foot trench, you have another foot on each side to
So you have
mill
5
and
foot
overlay.
total. So 5 foot total
You
you
can do
would
a
patch.
proper, patch or
Patch.
repair.
so not the width of the street, okay. So, my next question would pertain to the next hearing, but it's a different situation. I
Okay.
just wanted, if that would help any of the neighbors about, a patch down the middle of the road. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, David. Any other statements?
Anything else from the applicant or the township?
Nothing else from the applicant.
Okay,
The only thing I would ask is if the next hearing would be on another 40-foot wide lot, so that we can,
Yep.
then we can get into the last.
I understand. So
is that hearing number 4?
6th Street, so you want to skip over to the 6th Street lot? I think that's
Yes,
the 40-footer.
please.
Yep.
Is that hearing 4?
I have it here, give me a second.
I had a question.
What's
It
the,
is Z2126.
that's hearing 4.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so if we can do that one, I think it makes sense as
Sure.
well. That way, I think the applicant can incorporate a lot of what he just said. And Mike, if you just want to incorporate the prior testimony into this one, and then tell us what's different. But let us introduce this case, okay?
But excuse me, I have a question on this one that we're just talking
Yep.
about. You're going to extend that sewer line from wherever to that house, or proposed house.
Here's the,
Will it affect any other property owner?
no,
No.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay, we're jumping ahead to hearing number 4. I'll read that one. Z21-26. Mike Lynn LLC, PO Box 243, Fairview Village, PA 19409. This matter was previously before the board as Z1920. The board decided against the applicant's request, which was subsequently appealed. Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas reversed the board's decision, but without specification. The applicant is back before the board to specify dimensional conditions per 143-37, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. The parcel ID number of subject property is 43-00-13252-00-7. Subject property is located at 6th Street and is in the R2 residential zoning district.
All right, so the board exhibits for this one will be B1, the application, B2, the legal notice, B3, the proof of publication. B4, their certificate of notification. B5, their certificate of posting. And B6 will be the board's prior decision dated September 26, 2019, in application Z1920. And we have the same gentleman here for the applicant and for the township.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it, Eric.
Mhm.
If I can.
Let's
if I-
just, for this part, we're going to keep you sworn in for all 3 hearings, so we'll just incorporate that right through, okay?
Great. And could I also ask if Mr. Chairman Pucci and Mr. Fry, if we can ask the court reporter to simply incorporate by reference the previous testimony into this record, and then I will just go over the differences, since the lot size is the same.
Yep.
And the house design is the same.
Perfect.
defer
I agree.
to you, yep.
We absolutely do that. Let me see if there's any members of the public who want to be parties to this application. Anybody? Mr. Heiser, again?
Yes.
Okay, you're fine. We got you. Anybody else want to be, come on up and just give name and address, if you would, please.
My name is Patrick McKernan, M-C-K-E-R-N-A-N. I reside at 2912 7th Street in Trooper. I am approximately 200 feet to the rear of this gentleman's lot.
And you received a notice from the township?
Yes, I have.
No objection.
No objection. Anybody else?
My name is John Monroe, M-U-N-R-O. Address is 2981 6th Street.
And how far are you from the property?
Approximately, I'd say 100 feet.
And you received the notice from the township as well?
Yes, I did.
Any objection?
No objection.
Anybody else?
Dennis Lepine, L-E-P as in Paul, I-N-E,
Address?
601 Hillside Avenue,
How far
And-
from the property?
right next to it. It's
Adjacent, okay. Any objection?
No objection.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clement, we go right in your testimony.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Mike, can you put up a Google Earth plan or map, I'm sorry, photograph, so we can show the property? Mike, that's 7th Street. 6th Street is off to the right here. Thank you. Okay. Now, was it Mr. Monroe? Yeah. Could you just show me where you are on this? So I want to make sure that I appropriately address some. Right there. Okay, great, thanks, appreciate that. And was it Mr. Dean? Thanks. Okay. Let me do this.
the highlighted blue one is yours?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the lot in question. This is Mr. Patine, and I believe this is Mr. Monroe, correct? Thanks. Okay. So, again, this is a very small lot, no question about it. And the same holds true for this lot as held true for the lot on 4th Street. We pretty much did the same thing. We asked our engineer to go out, walk all these lots, figure out if we could actually build on them, and then designed a plan. It's fully engineered, except for the grading plan. We designed a house, same house, for these two lots, and it's fully sealed as an architectural plan. I don't want to waste time of the patient neighbors who have been here and of this board. It's basically the same exact application. I want to make sure that in the addendum I didn't add anything, but I don't think I did.
Now, this property, public water and sewer?
Yes. And if we can go, when you have a second, Mike, to that plot plan, please.
So was that a yes, that there is public sewer and water available right to that house, or do you have to extend the systems?
No, none of these lots have, except for, none of them have public sewer right to the lot. They all have to have an extension of the public sewer system. The one that you were shown showed that extension. And in this one, let me just look.
Yep.
Not all of them. In this one, the sewer's right there.
Is it in the street or in the back?
Yes,
It's right, so you're easy to connect.
right there, so we will connect it right there.
And water?
Boy.
See the well, or, see the well in the backyard?
Yeah. Well water.
There's no public water.
And I'll ask my same question about the street. Is the street paved,
Yes,
fully paved, and curbs?
no curb.
No curbs.
So will it be public water or sewer water?
If we can get public water in anyway, we will, but for this application purposes, the only thing we can be sure of, and I don't want to blow smoke, is we're going to put a well in. But if, you know, for the price of the house, if we can get public water there, it's better, and we will. But I don't know if we can.
So Mike, just for your benefit, what that changes is essentially our ordinance is written that if you're either water or sanitary sewer, the Balkan area requirements change. But if you have both water and sewer, for example, the lot area needed is 25,000 square feet. If either water or sewer is available, then it's 30,000 square feet. So it's really just changing the numbers that are required, not your numbers that you're proposing. So,
Okay.
so I think on this one, we'll take it as either water or sewer, but you have the intent of trying to connect the water. But again, for tonight, I think to be safe, we're gonna say you're gonna have public sewer, but potentially private water.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. And as a matter of fact, in the, I don't know, first page of the addendum, second paragraph from the bottom, I identified the fact that we would need 30,000 square feet because we don't have both. So, I don't know if I need to belabor the point. You don't need to hear me speak anymore. If you have questions or the neighbors have questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Sure, let's start with the board. Go ahead, Kat.
It's always me.
Okay.
Is there any way to modify the house that you want to put up to then make the dimensions smaller, that the side yards, back, front?
No.
So there's no way to modify, this is it?
This is it. This
Okay.
is, we shrunk this thing down as much as we possibly could so that it doesn't turn into a dollhouse.
That might be cute. That was it.
So it looks like from the picture there, Sixth Street, you said that is paved?
Yes.
It looks like trees overhang onto that portion of Sixth Street where the driveway comes up to the street. What do you intend to do about the trees, if anything?
I don't, honestly, I don't know the neighbor, I mean, I've walked this lot, there are no trees in the street, but if they overhang, we don't intend to do anything, but I know there are neighbors here who know a lot more than I do. Excuse me? We're not gonna do anything. We're not touching them. We're not doing anything. We're not touching them.
So that's the answer. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Frank?
I'm going to also sound very repetitive tonight. Mr. Clement, you've already addressed how you will try to tie into public water, but no promises to do so. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, again, the impervious area here is over 1,200 square feet. You plan on providing a stormwater management plan, is that correct?
Yes.
And you would be agreeable to that plan being approved by the township engineer being a condition upon the approval here?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, does Charles Breinig, current owner of this lot, own any adjacent lots?
To my knowledge, he does not, and I do not recognize, I know his entities, and none of his entities are shown on adjacent lots here.
And how about any of your entities, or you, or Mr. Del Grippo individually?
Neither Mr. Del Grippo nor I, nor any of our entities own any adjacent lots.
Thank you. No further questions on this one.
Thank you.
I wrote their names down.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Heiser, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Mr. McKernan? Hey, you call me your honor, I appreciate it.
He would like to.
You've been 3 years in my prior job.
I understand.
Officer McKernan.
A question to Mr. Clemens. Mr. Clemens, are you an equitable owner with Charles Bronick?
No,
You are not.
absolutely not.
But on your application, I believe there was an application that was filed where you signed a form with Charles Bronick that you are an equitable owner?
I am the equitable owner, not with him. I am an equitable owner as a result of an agreement of sale that was attached.
Correct.
But he and I are not equitably involved at all, in no way, shape, or form. The only equitable ownership we have is by agreement of sale from him for this property.
So,
And
Mr.
property-
McKernan, just to help you out, so Charles Breinig and his entity are the actual owners,
Correct.
and then the applicants are what's called equitable owners, which means they have an agreement of sale to buy it if conditioned. So that's what's
what I
meant by
understand.
equitable owner, yes.
If the board denies it,
Yep,
they can back out.
correct.
Okay, that was my question.
I didn't answer it very well.
No, you're fine. My next question is, and I apologize for this, 'cause I had a lot of questions, but you answered a lot of them already. You referred to a case,
Now I want you to open it now.
Hertzberger versus the zoning board of Pittsburgh, 1998.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. In reviewing the case, I read, this case does that affect a empty lot or an existing building, a four-story building, which was originally a bank?
No, it was definitely an approved lot. And the principle of the case is that certain characteristics the principle of the case is, and this is widely known in zoning law, is that this board can use its discretion under that case to take into account things like the characteristics of the neighborhood, the economics involved. And in that case, there was a building there, in this case, there's not, but the characteristics of the neighborhood are still important.
and the economics involved are still important.
So would it be safe to say that you referred a Herzenberger case, which was an existing building
Yes,
that was going to be used for another reason?
Yes.
For housing of low-income people, it was not an empty lot, was that correct?
absolutely.
Okay. So they're just basically the two questions I have right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good research.
Mr. Monroe?
I have a question which centers around the well water situation, the water supply. If you intend to, and keeping in mind that there's an expectation of another house being built nearby on 7th Street in the near future, if in a scenario where the well was unattainable, the drilling reached a maximum point, did you say that you would attempt then to connect to the public water system at that point?
I'd like to get public water there, no matter how deep the well would have to be. I just haven't been able to get that figured out with the water company. I mean,
So I could tell you what I heard, just for you, is that they're gonna try public water first, and then only go back to well water if they can't reasonably get private. So
reverse.
it's opposite of what you said, is that it's
So
not
you-
fail the well, then they go to public. They're gonna try public first. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. And then, and if they can't reasonably get it through cost, or the water company won't allow it, then they'll have no choice but to go to a well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would be willing to observe the cost then of connecting to public water?
well, yes and no. I don't want to, again, I'm not going to blow smoke at you. What generally happens is the water company says, all right, if we're going to serve this street, they'll bring it down to where we are. And then anybody else that wants to tap into that, there's a contribution. We pay for the line, and then the contribution gets paid to the water company normally, and then the contribution gets paid back to us, so that we don't bear the brunt of having to take the line all the way out for everybody. I don't know if there are any people here on this street who are interested, but they can certainly, I'll give them my name, my number, and if they want to get involved with public water, I'd be happy to do it.
Okay. To me, this situation is an analogy I can just only think of is like placing an elephant in a space the size of a living room. What have you decided, or are you considering, since you're in essence incurring into the privacy of the homes on either side, to try to attain a situation where you're compatible and not, and the privacy of the neighbors is somewhat given consideration?
Well, honestly, I grew up in Glenside on a lot that was 45 feet wide. My first house with my first two children was on a lot that was 50 feet wide. We never had any problems with our neighbors. We were good buddies. And, you know, you pull down your shades when you go to the bathroom is the best way I can answer you.
Well, I certainly understand the situation you just described, but in this case, we're not talking about row homes or duplexes
Oh, no.
or attached homes.
No, both those houses were, when I grew up, we had a 40-foot wide lot, and my dad had a drugstore, we lived up above it. It was 40, you know. And when I had my first home in Springfield Township, it was 50 feet wide, it was a single home, and, you know, we were real close to our neighbors. But nobody imposed upon anybody else's privacy as the Bay of the West. And I think people are like that today.
Well, my position is that you're shoehorning a home into a neighborhood where the characterization of the neighborhood is not intended to be such. So I still see this home having an impact on the homes on either side to some degree that I think should be given thought and consideration to if it comes into being. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lapine?
Really, I don't really have a question, other than he said he doesn't have any property adjacent to that. Should we just, you just okayed him building on this property right here. So he does, there is adjacent property.
No, that's not us.
Us?
Yeah,
No.
Del Grippo.
No, is that the one that's on the,
That's the one that was just approved last, I think it was last month. That's Joe.
yeah, our sons have a building company,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and that's their property.
Okay, so it's different Del Grippo, but it's,
No, it's the same family, but it's the two boys own their own building company,
okay, because I know that was approved.
yes. And
And-
if I had recognized it, I would have said that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I just didn't.
Well, it doesn't say Bowlings, it says Bowlings on there, which is the previous owner of it.
Okay.
And again, just so you know, the reason we asked that question is there's a section of our code that says if you own any adjacent property, either in your personal name or in an entity's name, you have to merge those properties.
Yeah, I
So-
know, that came up about 2 years ago when it was trying
Exactly
to-
right, on another one of these lots.
Right, and I know
the-
what you had specified in it, that
Yep.
you didn't approve it, but you stated on there that he had property next to it, so when he'd go to the county,
Yep.
they'd know that he has property next to it.
That's correct.
So-
And here, it's a little different because they don't own this one, and actually, from what their testimony is right now, they don't own the other one either. So their statements were true that they don't own any surrounding properties. One, their son does, and two, they don't even own this one yet.
Yeah.
So our ordinance wouldn't merge them at this case, at this
Okay.
juncture, okay?
Mhm.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Hi, Debbie Lapine, L-E-P-I-N-E. We own the adjacent property right there. Can you tell me how long your driveway will be?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so this is our paved driveway that's proposed right here. So this is where the street is, the edge of the street is right there, okay? So this is 20 feet, and then by estimate, this is another 10 feet, okay?
So 30 feet of driveway?
Yes. Did I say that right, Mike?
I think it's 20 foot to the right of way.
20
And
foot to
then
the
that
right of way,
little-
but then there, so
That's
there's
the- To the center line.
the right of way is where the edge of the paving is. Or, I'm sorry, it's where the edge of the right to pave is. In other words, if that street were ever widened to the actual right of way, it could be widened all the way out to here. But it's our understanding right here, right now, that this street, and you can kind of see it, right, see that line there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's the
comes
street.
that's the street.
Right.
So our driveway will go past our lot line and to the edge of the street. So it's about 20 feet to our lot line, and then it's another, I don't know,
Okay, so you can easily fit 2 cars in that driveway?
no, I don't think so. I think you can only fit 1 car in that driveway. I think what'll happen is there'll be 1 car in the garage and 1 car in the driveway.
If they use
If
the
they
garage?
if they have 2 cars, yeah. And if they use the garage,
Right.
yes.
My concern is the people that live in the upper right corner, that's on 6th and Hillside, right there.
Yeah.
They often park in the street a little bit to the left of where you just had your point on the left. There you go.
Right,
They
I
park in
gotta
the
bless
street.
myself.
They park in the street there, so I'm worried if these people don't use their, if they park in the street, there's no way a fire truck is gonna get down there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer what they'll do. We can only, again, you know, when I grew up, what happened is, we often did this. We'd park 1 car there, and the other car got parked onto the lawn. And, you know, that's how we did it. I can't say
Right.
what'll happen here.
Okay. And the distance between the house and my property is about 10 feet?
No, it's 8 feet.
8 feet,
It's right there, it's 8 feet.
okay. Is there,
And just to correct that statement, that's to the property line, not to your house.
correct,
But-
my property line?
Yes, she asked her house, and,
Oh, I'm
yeah, you know, I
sorry.
just want to make sure we have the
Right.
clear stuff here, so,
Right,
yeah.
property line.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep.
your house is here, correct?
So would it be possible to promise a fence go up so that they know the property line of you putting a fence up, not me? You putting a fence up. I know I can put a fence
You
up.
can put a
I can put a fence up. That's a very expensive proposition. I
Well-
would like you to put a fence up.
After we construct the home,
What's the fence for? Just to identify the property line?
Yes.
I mean, there's other ways of doing that. I mean,
Like what?
some green giants or something like that, you know,
yeah, let's,
some
listen,
arbs.
you talk to us about it, but no, I'm serious. Normally what happens is you got a small stretch of space here. If you were right here, I'd say, you know, why don't we just put in some shrubbery? But if you're worried that they're gonna encroach upon your lot,
I am,
yeah.
because it's only 8 foot
Well, it is.
wide. How can they not?
Well, like I said, we didn't when we grew up, but maybe people are different. I don't know.
Can I ask the board, is it possible to mandate that they put a fence up, or no?
So the board, if the board does grant relief, it has the power to impose conditions, but they have to be reasonably related to the relief granted. So it's up to the board to determine whether that's reasonable or not. So, but it's something obviously you brought up, so they will consider.
Okay. All right.
Much easier if you harder on them, get them to say yes, then we make it a condition, it's not a problem. But I don't think they're ready to do that yet, so.
Okay.
All right.
So we wait for
Yeah.
comments?
Yes,
To do that?
please,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
Dave.
yeah, sorry.
This question for you and then to them, I guess.
You need his name again? You okay?
David Meckes,
Yes, yep.
419 Sunnyside. Building this lot, the other two also, during construction, I mean, again, we're talking small space. I don't know how it is up there. I know our situation, construction materials, trucks, and then obviously once they're, talking about digging a full basement. I guess my question to you is they'll have to follow protocol with silk fence and all that for the neighbors for water runoff during construction, loose dirt, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about digging a big hole, dirt's gotta go somewhere and keep some to backfill, so.
Yep.
Just for other neighbors in here, like that, has to be contained at, during that part. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from anyone? Kathy?
What water company would be in that area, do you know?
Yes, it's American Water. It used to be PA American.
Right. And then if you do the line from wherever, and it crosses in front of other properties, you said they make some sort of a contribution to connect?
If they want to connect, your ordinance is if a line comes in front of a property under your ordinance, which I'm fairly familiar with, then it's almost mandatory for that person whose property is on a well to connect to it.
That's what I thought.
And at that point, if a home builder or developer, whoever it is, builds that line and pays for the whole thing off of the main, then the person that connects pays a contribution to the water company under the PUC regulations, and then that contribution, part of the 40% of it, I don't remember the numbers, Ms. Eske, comes back to the person who built the line.
Do you know if those other residents have a grace period before they would have to connect?
That's, you know, in my experience, many municipalities ignore that part of their own ordinance because they don't want to cause a hardship to somebody that's on a well. And in my experience, in the past, if the people didn't want to connect, the townships didn't make them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the public? No? Okay.
Statements from the public. Statements from the public.
Any statements from the neighbors? Mr. McKernan?
Thank you again for the opportunity to speak. First of all, I'd just like to answer a question regarding the water that you're talking about.
Yes.
This is going to be during my talking about. I live closer to Hillside Avenue than the existing lot you're asking for.
Yes.
And the water authority denied bringing the water up to my location unless I paid for it, just so you know. Just so you know, okay?
Oh, and, yeah, thank you for that warning. I'm aware of that, but I think that if I bring that water line up, a number of my neighbors are probably gonna want to.
I'm just making that statement, that's all I'm saying.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to listen to me. At this particular time, I am asking the commission to deny the hardship for Mr., I apologize, your builder's name?
It's Del Grippo.
Del Grippo. Del Grippo and Buckland.
Mike Lynn.
Mikeman for hardship. The appeal tonight is for a hardship to put a lot on that particular, a house on that particular property, I understand. In my personal opinion, yes, I would rather see a home there than a mobile home, just so you understand that. I'm asking that the council tonight take into consideration the water and sewer for this particular property. I understand the sewer is available to the front of that particular property, but the water is not. So if the water cannot be by public, it's going to have to be by well. If a home is being placed on a lot 40 by 100, and the house itself is 24 by 45, that doesn't give you too much room to put a rig on that particular piece of property somewhere to put a well on after the house gets built. So I'm asking the council to take that into consideration. I'm also asking the council to deny this position and to have it taken to the Montgomery County Courts again. The reason why I'm asking that is because on the prior owner, Charles Bronick, it came back, it reversed your decision, but it came back without specifications as to why they reversed your decision. So I'm asking that this appeal go to the Montgomery County Courts with two things. Number one, if the appeal does go, that the neighbors who came here tonight, along with those who also got notification, that this time we be notified of the appeal. Charles Bronick went and appealed in the year of 2020 during COVID. Not one neighbor was notified of his appeal, which this decision was reversed without any neighbors having any insight. And number two, if they in fact do reverse your decision and say he can build a single home there, which again, I have no problem with, then it can't be just a blanket coverage, okay? They have to indicate the reasons for the decision of the reversal. Without specifications can cover a multitude of sins. I'd like to have you guys be notified why they reversed the decision. Thank you.
If I can, I just want to make this clear for you, in case this changes your position, I want you to stay there, okay? Is that on August, you're right, it's during COVID, so August 3rd of 2020,
Correct.
the court overturned the decision of this board. This board denied the right to build a single-family home
Correct, I
here.
understand that.
So the application that they overturned, here's what they asked for. There was a right to build a 14 by 66 modular home on this property with a front yard of 18, a rear yard of 8, and one side yard of 20, the other side yard at 6. So, and that's a modular home. So by saying we overturn this board's decision, that's what the owner of this property has a right to build today. So we can't stop that. So what the applicant's telling us is that they only have it under contract. If we don't give them their relief, they'll walk away, leaving Brianig the right to build a 14 by 66
understand that.
modular
Okay.
home. We can't stop that. So that's in, we
Fine.
can't stop that. So it's really kind of, at least in my mind, is we're looking at two things. What's the lesser of the
The
two?
lesser of two evils.
We agree, we don't want anything built here.
Right.
We got, the court overturned us, threw that out and said, they slapped our hand and said, you can't tell them no. But, and right, they didn't, and their position is, they didn't tell you what the yes is. So the yes, but the way I'm looking at it now is if we turn them away, Brianing's gonna build something here.
I agree.
So he's gonna come in with that modular home. And I did hear you say you prefer the stick home over.
Absolutely.
Over the modular.
Absolutely.
But I just wanna make sure you're clear and the rest of the public is, we can't say no to building something here. They have the right to build a modular home here right now.
Correct.
Okay?
I'm not disagreeing with that at
Okay,
all.
thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. The other thing I also want to add to that.
Yep.
Is that we're not going to appeal. If you guys don't want us and this board doesn't want us, we're not going to appeal. I don't want to. I don't want to make enemies, I don't want to, okay? But that means this will never go back to the court, because that court decision was not appealed. And that court decision is now what governs, okay?
So with that being said, I'd like to add one additional statement that they take that in consideration this evening, okay? But again, with specifications, as Deb indicated earlier, that there be some sort of a barrier between the homes or the property line, I should say, distinguishing her property from their property. So encroachment of a lot that is so close to an adjacent lot is not being infringed upon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
I too thank the board and Mr. Mrazinski for this opportunity. I have a written statement that I'd like to share that was written by my wife Joan and myself. First of all, we'd like once again to acknowledge the efforts of the Lower Providence Township Zoning Board in refusing the previous applications from Moser Construction Company for extending multiple variances. We truly appreciate being heard in the meetings, having an opportunity to ask questions, and to clearly state orally and in writing our concerns changing the character of our neighborhood. Secondly, we wish to address that we are not in favor of any relief or hardship claims in this case, in this parcel of land on 6th Street, and it should not be considered. The plot of land is so small that any form of construction would alter and change the character of the neighborhood and impact the vegetation and plant life that is part of the environmental balance. Third, the applicant knew this small lot would not be approved and not fit into our area, regardless of the type of house. The variances for front, side, and backyards do not constitute a hardship. This would be a hardship on 6th Street residents and our open space. Fourth, our well water would be impacted by another house on 6th Street, as well as the safety issues regarding the children who live nearby, with additional traffic that comes with a residence. As it is not a full-size lot, and it was well known to the applicant long before this zoning process, it is our concern that this is a fast and furious, quote, attempt to build a narrow home on a very condensed lot, thereby altering the character of the neighborhood overall and 6th Street in particular. Thank you so much for your consideration of our input, concerns, and neighborhood safety. Sincerely, John Monroe and Joan Monroe. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement. Anyone else? Mr. Lapine? Starting to get to know you guys.
Seen this a few times. Basically, it's, as far as the city water goes, it's 140 feet to their property from Hillside, which is where the water is. And I don't want to go off my well. I don't like city water, never have. And my well water is fine. It was tested 3 weeks ago, so there's no way I want to go on city water. Whether it has to, seeing something has to be built there, I'm not sure which I really prefer. I mean, the two-story would look better, but a one-story would be easier for me to hide. So, because 6 feet only gets you so far. Not going to get you 2 stories, so, okay.
Thank you. Mr. Heiser?
I'd like to reiterate what I said earlier on the 4th Street lot, as far as was brought up by Mrs. Lupine as well. The possibility of you as a builder doing something along the lines of providing designation of what is the property, so that there would not be encroachment upon the neighbors on either side. One thing that I feel that maybe some of my neighbors, due to the already approved construction, that you're proposing something different, is that sidewalk was only 2 feet off the property line, and they would fall, the trip and fall would have them trespass on a property line, where yours is different, where the entrance to the house is not on the side. So I do want to point that out to my neighbors, that it is an 8-foot difference. If there's something that could be done, it'd be considered to be greatly appreciated to differentiate where your property ends and the next one begins.
How about if we, we're gonna have to pin this property, which means we've got to, we have to put an iron pin in each of the corners. How about instead of that, we put, on this side, for example, why don't we put 4 concrete monuments that are easily marked, okay? And I don't know if that would be something that would be helpful or whatever. I don't want to put a fence in, quite frankly, and then have somebody not take care of it. I can't, it's good. And also, it makes everything look smaller. I don't want to do that. But I do want to designate where the difference is between these property lines, and I understand the neighbors' concerns about that. Maybe that's the way to do it, and it would be helpful, at least for designation.
As a resident of this neighborhood and several surrounding ones, concrete monuments are, a pillar is a common use of designation of property lines. I know for a fact, within a quarter mile, my parents have 2.
Yeah.
On theirs.
So why don't we,
I think that is a superb suggestion, personally.
And then in between, yes.
So it wouldn't be 25, so it'd be, you're saying 4 along that property line,
So there'd be 4 on that property line, so there'd be
Yeah.
1 out front.
Yep.
And then there'd be 25 feet down, another one 25 feet down, another one, no.
Yeah, 25, 50.
Whatever.
Yeah, it'd be 30, right?
Yeah.
About 33.
and a third feet
Yep.
apart.
So, that's right. I was doing the math too. I'm like, that doesn't work, so. Right.
I just am good for the concrete pillars.
They're not pillars. They sit up normally about 2 inches above the earth.
And that's gonna designate a property line?
What does,
Yeah, that's how you do it.
That's standard of how it is. Now, it doesn't provide you exactly privacy or anything like that. So if that's what you're looking for, that's a different statement than delineating a property line. But that is surveyors, they use that traditionally to designate property lines.
I'm just thinking it's not a visual property line for people. Normal people that need boundary of some kind, and that doesn't do it. So I'm requesting the board mandate a fence. I am more inclined to go with a stick-built than a modular home. That's horrible. If something absolutely has to go there, I would prefer it to be a stick-built, but I would request that you guys mandate a fence on both sides. Both sides of the property. It doesn't have to be a 6-foot fence, but it has to be some sort of fence. That I would request that you mandate that.
And we disagree and will not agree to that as a condition.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we're going to hearing number 3, which is really hearing number 4. Who's reading that one?
I am, Joe.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, hearing number 3, Z, TAC 21, TAC 25, Mike Lynn, LLC, PO Box 243, Fairview Village, Pennsylvania, 19409. This matter was previously before the board as Z-19-15/Z-19-18. The board decided against the applicant's request, which was subsequently appealed. Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas reversed the board's decision, but without specification. The applicant is back before the board to specify dimensional conditions per 143-37, together with any other relief deemed necessary or appropriate by the board. Parcel ID number of subject property is 43-00-4600-00-1 and 43-00-4603-007, -00-7. Subject properties are located at Fifth Street and is in the R2 residential zoning district.
You want to see if there's any parties?
Yep.
Mr. Clemens, please.
We're going to have the same, everyone's sworn in, same for the applicant and the Frank Diamore for the township. I'm going to enter some exhibits onto the record. Same set, so B1 is the application package, B2 is the legal notice, B3 is the proof of publication, B4 is the certificate of notifications, B5 is the certificate of posting, B6 is a decision dated July 25th, 2019 in Z19-15, and a second decision is dated September 26, 2019 in Z19-18. So this applicant was actually denied twice by the township. The second one was taken up on appeal, and that's when, denied twice by the zoning hearing board. The second one was taken up to the court and turned over by court order dated August 3rd of 2020. In the same situation where the current owner, not the applicant, but the current owner would have a right to build the 14 by 66 modular home. Is anybody here that wants to be a party to this application? Want to state your name and address, please.
John Meckes, M-E-C-K-E-S, 2915 Fifth Street.
115 Fifth. Any objection?
No objection.
Okay. Just come on up and same address?
First name, Elaine, E-L-A-I-N. Same address, 2915.
Ryan Heiser, H-E-I, 2976 Fifth Street.
Mr. Clement, if you have any objections, let me know. I'm just gonna,
Oh, I'm sorry.
standard that you don't have. I didn't ask you, but just for, if you have one, let me know, okay?
I will, that's fair.
Thank you.
Very listening. Spell your
E-S-W-I-C-K, 501 Sunnyside Avenue.
Thank you.
No objection.
I thought you were here for this one, yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
David Meckes, 419 Sunnyside Avenue.
All right, no others. Thank you, Mr. Clement, if you want to.
Okay, thank you. Again, thanks for your patience. This, I would like to ask for the same stipulation with respect to this hearing.
Yes.
And that is that the transcript would reflect the fact that previous testimony from the prior two hearings on behalf of the applicant is incorporated into this hearing.
Yes,
If that is acceptable to the board.
it is.
So this property is a bit different in that it is 60 feet wide and approximately 100 feet deep. So
Excuse me, can you make sure the mic's on? The court reporter just asking that the mic be turned on.
it says it's on.
It might have died on us.
I'll keep my voice up.
You can switch to this one over here. Now, we want to get you for the video and. Just don't sing. Just tap it. Give it.
Does this,
Yep,
That's better.
that's better.
thank
yep.
you, okay. So do you want me to repeat what I just said? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Let's go back to incorporating the transcript.
what I would like to do is ask the, Mr. Chairman Pucci and Solicitor Fry, if we can incorporate into this transcript the testimony from the applicant for the prior two transcripts by reference, so that we don't have to repeat many of the same facts over again.
Agreed, we'll do that.
Thank you. So this property is a little different in that it is 60 feet wide and 100 feet deep. The property has been before this board twice before, not by us, but by the owner. And in the second instance, that decision by this board to deny the request of the property owner to build a house was reversed by the court. However, I do believe that in that particular hearing or set of hearings, and I did go over the transcript, there were two offers in both hearings, I believe. In the first hearing, there was one offer in the first hearing, and that was 26 by 55 stick-built home with a 10 by 12 deck. And in the second hearing, the applicant requested the same request, but said that in the alternative, he would be willing to build a 14-foot by 66-foot modular home. The court ordered, and I'm quoting, "The appeal and relief requested therein is granted, and the decision of the Lower Providence Zoning Hearing Board is hereby reversed." Honest to goodness, it seems to me that if the hearing, or if the applicant was granted, that means both of those things were granted, because the court did not differentiate between them. We're not willing to build either one of them. What we've proposed here is a pretty normal size home that would be consistent with, in general, both of the Meckes' homes. It would be 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a full basement, and a 2-car garage. And if you can, Mike, please put up the plans for this home. As in the other instances that we heard the appeals on earlier, we engaged our engineer to do a fully engineered plot plan except for the grading plan, again, because we don't know what relief might be granted, and a fully drawn architectural plan that has been sealed. Okay, so if you can show the front facade, I think it might be helpful. So that's what the house would look like. It is a house that Lenny and I have built many times. And it's, again, we try to make it detailed enough and attractive enough so that it fits within the colonial aspects of older neighborhoods. Although the Meckes' homes are lovely homes and they're not older homes. But in terms of the style and the size, I think it's very comparable. There's a two-story foyer, as you can see, with a window above the door. Generally, we don't like to use one solid garage door. We prefer to use two garage doors and take 6 inches off of the space so that they look better. We do not like to have roofs that don't have, as you can see, the architectural detail where there's a return and there's some, it gives it some depth to the look of the property. So if we can go a little toward the bottom, Mike, if you can show them. So the rear elevations and the side elevations are pretty clear. The home would have a fireplace and a chimney, a slider, and lots of light and windows. And then if you can show the first floor, please, Mike. Okay, so on the first floor, you can see where the garage is on the right-hand side. It's a typical two-car garage. The foyer is a two-story foyer, right, Lenny? Mm-hmm. And so the foyer would be open to the second floor, and the light would come in a window above that foyer. There's a nice-sized study off to the left of the foyer, and then an open living area, which consists of a great room, dining area, and a kitchen with a bump out. And the reason we like to put the bump outs in these types of houses is because when you have a more upscale house, or people like to put little tables so that either their kids can play in the bump out or their kids can eat in the bump out. And that's why we do it. So you see the stairway is central to the house. There's a powder room on the first floor, and you go up the stairs. So Mike, could you show the second floor? In the second floor, the owner's suite is in the far top left corner of the building. There's a two-sink master bath with a full bath. There's I shouldn't say master, it's an owner's bath. There's a walk-in closet, and then there's a small linen closet, and we can do these kind of things in a larger space. So it's pretty comfortable owner's suite. And then there are 3 bedrooms, as you can see, and they are accessed off of the hallway, which wraps around the stairs. So owner's suite here. I killed it. And the bathroom, and then bedrooms 2, 3, and 4. There's a walk-in closet in bedroom number 3. There's a strip closet in bedroom number 4. There's a walk-in closet in bedroom number 2. There is extra closet space, and then there's a laundry upstairs, which is at the top of the stairs. So this general style or architecture we've built probably 100 times. Okay, we're comfortable with it. It affords something that fits in this neighborhood because, as I said, the Meckes' homes are lovely. They're wide,
and this would be very similar to what they have. There's good backyard, there's good side yard, and that's all I can say.
Mike, would you mind putting an aerial, Google? Mr. Clement, what's the front yard, side yard, and rear yard setbacks that you're asking for? What's the width of the house and?
Okay, sure. That, I can read it off of here, but if you go back to that plan, Mike, I'm sorry, the plot plan itself, it's easy to see. I believe they're 10, well, I'm not gonna,
It's a raw wood.
yeah, let me look.
There you go.
Okay, so I think it's,
10 side.
in the back, you've got 30 feet, on each side, you've got 10 feet, and in the front, you have 20 feet to the property line, but probably about 27 feet to the street. But it is 20 feet to the property line.
So the home is 40 by 60? Or 40 by 70?
The home is...
No, 40 by
is,
50, 40 by 50.
Let me just look, 12 and 18, 40 by 46, I believe, including the garage.
Right, okay. Thank you. Other questions by the board?
Oh, yep. I'll ask some of the same questions about sewer and water.
Well, you can see, the sewer is, you see the dotted line connection to sewer? And I believe there's water in Sunnyside, and I have tried to get an answer, but Lenny, do you know any more about the water?
No, he's showing a well there, Mike.
Yeah, but I believe there's water in Sunnyside, and that's where we're gonna try to get to it, but you can see the well.
So the same stipulation, though, you'll make your best efforts to get public water?
That's right.
And then what about the street? Is the street paved all the way up?
Street's paved, but it's not all the way up. This street was intended, and the Mecca's is probably no better than I do, but it was intended to go from Sunnyside, according to your old township plans, all the way back. It does not. It stops, I guess,
At my father's driveway. At their garage.
yeah, okay,
It just goes right to their garage, doesn't go any further.
right.
So it's all,
So
I'm trying to help you out, that's all. Yep.
Please.
so it stops, just for the record, it stops at John and Elaine's address,
It just-
2915.
It curves right into
Yep.
their garage, correct.
Yep.
It does not continue past that, yes.
but it is all fully paved,
Correct.
you know, the way it should be.
Correct, it's paved, yes.
And curbing,
Well, that's Mr.
Well, I'm sorry, they paved, I'm gonna let them talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You want to let Mr. Meckus talk now, or John has a question? You have a question, John? Or
No, I
you
explained.
clarify?
the
Sure.
Driveway situation.
Okay.
I bought that property and it
So
was
why,
an existing home.
I know you're gonna say some stuff, so let's get you sworn in, just so you're
Okay.
because you're gonna give us some facts here, I think.
My name is John Meckes, M-E-C-K-E-S. So help me God, yes. Okay, I bought that property, there was a existing house there that was demoed and was pretty much condemned.
Are you saying on your property or the sub?
My property.
Okay, yep.
And the driveway went from Sunnyside up past Helen's property and looped into the property that I bought. And all I did was replace the driveway the way it was. It was a paper street, and it's listed as Fifth Street, but it basically only a driveway. It's 10 feet wide, it comes up, curves right into my driveway, my garage doors, and that's all. As far as the street, it was proposed by everyone on this board, or I don't know, these changed bodies or whatever, I got the paperwork, these are all signed, that you would give permission to Charlie, be the previous owner, to build that property as long as they ran the sewer, the storm sewer, which is the major, major problem that comes off of Hillside Avenue. It comes down there, we can show you videos, and we can show you pictures, where it's an absolute river. I've been there 8 years now. This past September, that water came off of that back hillside so bad, my back property where it is, it wouldn't hold it. It filled my window well, blew my window well out, and I got 18 inches of water. Some of my neighbors, I'm not going to mention names, they can talk for themselves, they had the same problem, and they got water, and they've been there for 40 years. I've been on Sunnyside for 40 years. I lived the house 6 houses down the street before I built this house, and I never had problems like this last storm. It went down Sunnyside, it was a foot deep.
All right, let's go back
Thank
to
you,
the
John.
street. So you paved that street or the town?
No,
who-
it was paved, and up until Helen's driveway, it was paved up to past that, and the rest of it was dirt, followed up into a garage where, of the property that I demoed and tore the foundation out. I replaced it as it was. It was on record when I built the property that that would be the driveway, and that would be the paved area, and that's all that's there.
So does the township plow it?
No, they do not. That's more issues. If they put this property in there, there's gonna be trash cans down in front of David's house. It's gonna be mailboxes down in front of David's house. There's no, I snow blow it myself from my house to Sunnyside every time it snows.
So it's not a dedicated
It
street?
is not a dedicated street, no. Like I said, and everybody that comes around assumes, and it's a driveway, it's not even a street,
Thank you.
okay?
Eric, is it appropriate to take questions now, or do you want the testimony to continue?
So why don't we stick with testimony, yeah.
All right.
Yep.
In a moment. We'll have you, just a second. About the street.
She's Helen, it's Helen, right?
Yeah.
Mrs. Beswick.
Ellen, I'm sorry, so she's across the street. So
Yeah.
go ahead. If
Why don't you come on up?
Come up and get sworn in, just to talk about the street issue, though. Ellen? I'm gonna take the H off your name on my
Yeah.
notes here.
Mike, if you zoom in, can we see the street that Mr. Meckes was talking about
Yes.
from the Google?
My name is Ellen, not Helen
Yeah.
Beswick.
So she could swear you in, just because you're gonna tell us facts about the street.
I do. Okay, you had the question about the street being paved. Was it paved? When Mr. Meckes came, it was paved because my husband and I and Joe Vargo, who owned that original house that he bought, paid to pave that street. We maintained it because the township would do nothing. We have repaved it. Mr. Meckes has paved it again. We have taken care of it. And the township has done nothing except at the very bottom, put in the drains at the bottom to try to catch the water, which is impossible because it just floods the road. So that's where the paving came from.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mike Brzezinski, what do you know about that street?
He lost his microphone.
Nothing.
I've been on this, whatever it is, and I don't, whatever Mr. Mecca says and whatever you say, I don't dispute. First of all, number one, it's more than 10 feet wide, I can tell you that, because I've walked down that street many times. It's the same width that is on 4th Street, which I've gone up many times. So why it's not considered a street would be beyond me. It's the same, as you can see it plainly in the photograph. It's the
Does somebody
same.
have a pointer? I mean, do we have a pointer that works?
I wish I did,
I think we
but
lost the,
Well, do we have one, Mike? when
Wait.
you're out?
there, it just works.
there we go. See this?
So that's the road you're talking about, Mr. Meckes?
Yes.
And then it does curve into Mr. Mecca's house, okay? But it's the same setup as this street, and if you go either way, you'll see it's the same setup as all these streets. Okay? Right down. So it's no different. And when I went out there, the first time when I looked at this, I wanted to make sure there was drainage, and sure enough, come on. I think right here and right here, there was a box recently put in, if I'm not mistaken. And I defer to you.
I guess before I talk, can I get sworn in?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you're gonna talk about the street, again, we're just talking about the street issue now.
I don't wanna argue, I'm not gonna argue about
Yep,
it.
yep. It is what it is, yeah.
So, David Meckes, Meckes. Yes. As far as the width of the street in relation to Fourth Street, Fourth Street is maintained by the township. 2 cars can go up and down that street and pass each other. Fifth Street, which is the paper street that the township does not maintain, plow, treat, whatever. At the beginning, up to the edge of my driveway, it's wider where the curb cutouts are off of Sunnyside. Once you get beyond that point, it's 1 car wide. You're not passing unless you're going on the grass. So that's where it's smaller. It's not the same width as 4th Street all the way up.
Would you, thanks.
Okay.
I'm not,
No, yeah, I'm just,
Not arguing.
I'm not arguing with you either. I'm just, so right here is like the edge of my driveway where it meets the grass.
right.
So right there, down to Sunnyside, it's wider because the 2 curb cutouts off of Sunnyside. But once you get beyond this point, up to Ellen's driveway and then up to my father's driveway, it's only 1 car wide. So you're not passing anybody on it. Trash trucks do not go up it. In the recent meetings with the other homes, the board was concerned about fire trucks, EMS, that type of thing. And it was brought up to approve it. That's when you guys suggested it had to be all the way up through 5th Street, made a road for trash trucks, for EMS, for fire truck, that type of thing. And beyond the edge of mine, all the way up, it's not that wide. And it's not built for that type of thing. It's just paved. It doesn't have the same base as a regular street. It's a common area. So I'm just if that helps anybody out. Thank you.
Since you're there, another question.
Yes.
What's above your father's property?
There is a 20-foot lot that, I don't know their names, I'm sorry. That there's a 20-foot lot between them and then Stanzinski the rest of the way up. And that is just all grass up the hill.
He bought that from the.
He bought that from the county because of back taxes and everything. I don't know, he bought that for peanuts, money, change.
Thank you.
And then in reference to the stormwater that I'm sorry, the name. Mike. That Mike is referring to. At the edge of Sunnyside and the curb cut to 5th Street, the paper street, there are 2 stormwater grates at either corner. The one closer to Ellen's house was replaced, I'm guessing, 2 or 3 years ago. It's too high. When they put it in, it doesn't even catch water. Water runs around it right into the middle of Sunnyside. You get a pool, and it just... So there are 2 storm sewers there. The one closer to Ellen's does not catch anything. The one closer to my side does. It catches the water down Sunnyside, but the majority of the water that my father was referring to that comes down the hill stays closer to Ellen's side and just diverts right around it because it's not set properly. While I'm at this, if I might add, when I did my house, I called the township and asked about it. The curb cuts at Sunnyside and 5th Street, that's what they are, they're curbs. 4th Street, 3rd Street, Mr. Smith's property, I don't know, at 509, they all have handicap ramps. This does not. There's people that walk with kids, strollers, wagons. They go into Sunnyside, that's a drag strip, and I tell them, please use my driveway. I mean, there's no handicap ramp there. It's a high curve, 8-10 inches. It's not relevant at this point right now, but I just, in relation to the curb cutout is, just bringing that up.
Great, thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mike, any other comments, testimony from your part?
I guess.
Because you're still up.
The comment is that, again, I don't want to make neighbors into enemies. If you decide to tell us we can't build, we're not going to build. But I will say this, that there is no requirement for Charlie Brining or his company to do anything other than to put the house in, okay? And I think you're going to find us to be better neighbors when and if we got to work together, if we can help with a ramp or doing something with a storm sewer to get it lowered, Lenny, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, sure.
We'll lower the sewer box. We'll put in handicap ramps.
Get a steak dinner.
That's a good match. Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
I don't know how far, I don't know if this is the right time.
Right.
If this is the right time where, they did mention the sewer. The sewer is in Fifth Street. I believe you have a gentleman here that is with the sewer department, but the sewer is in Fifth Street. Water is all the way down at Sunnyside. It's not in Fifth Street. I mean, my father will attest, he went down to Sunnyside to get water. His meter pit is at Sunnyside. So Mike and Len, if they want water, they are gonna have to go down the right of way to Sunnyside to get water.
Sure.
I guess at that point, I'm speaking, I guess they should speak too, but at that point, if they're gonna dig down to there, can they widen the roadway? I mean, so if Ellen's coming out of her driveway and this new potential neighbor's pulling in, they're not playing, what's it, Frogger or something? Dodge Chicken? That would be, you can't pass on that part of the driveway. So if they're gonna dig, obviously, we would want it back the same way that it is now, if not better. Stormwater, I mean, I know you guys didn't do the stormwater, I can understand that. But if the township, if they can fix it, somebody can fix it, just redirect it, and then the handicap ramps would be. I don't believe any of us are looking to be a home association. Who's gonna plow, who's gonna pay, who's gonna do that kind of stuff? So I think a little communication between the builder and the residents in the area would be kind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, I'll put on the record that if the relief is granted, we will lower the storms boxes to the point where they will accept the water. If the relief is granted, we'll put handicap ramps in the curb cuts, although I don't believe there's any sidewalk there.
Yeah, it's on Sunnyside.
Yeah, okay, so we'll do that. We're not gonna rebuild the road. I mean, it's one house, and, the traffic from one house, people are gonna work it out just like they do now. But we'll do other things, and we'll try to be good neighbors. And if the township, and we'll also petition with these people to ask the township, maybe they ought to dedicate the darn thing and put an extra 10 feet in there.
Did you realize that it was not a dedicated road?
No, it's a paper street, which I'm allowed to use.
Right.
Under the law of Pennsylvania. And I can use it as an owner, just like everybody else can use it, to the full width of it. But again, let's try to work together. If this thing's gonna work, it's gonna be a nice neighborhood.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, you want to have the parties?
So the township first.
Yes, that's, Frank?
I'll ask some questions as a
Sure, thank you.
I don't really understand the sewer situation here. So could you explain to me how this house is how you propose to sewer it?
Yeah, I believe the sewer is right in Fifth Street, and if we could go back to, Mike, I know it's getting late, I apologize, but if we go back to the plot plan, there you go. That's, the connection is coming right out next to the driveway, and the lateral comes out into Fifth Street and connects there.
So, the only thing, sorry, Mr. Clement, the only thing that's really confusing me is that I think the agreement of sale had some odd provision in it that said, the seller believes there's an ability to tie into a sewer lateral running down Sunnyside. You know what I'm speaking about?
Yes, I do. And apparently, Mr. Breinig put that in there so that he would warn me that he didn't know where the sewer was. So I went out and asked our engineer to contact the township engineer to figure out where it was. And to the best of my knowledge, because I don't know where it is, it's what's on the plan.
And you would be fine with a condition that you tie into the public sewer
Yes?
and the public water?
Well, no, because I want to get public water, but
You just seem very gregarious, I figured I'd ask.
the problem is that, if they may not give me public water unless I run a main up there. But they did give it before, so there's precedent. I don't know what they're gonna do. But if we can, for the value of our house, we're putting a lot of money into this thing, we wanna get public water.
And there's similar questions I've asked before about the stormwater plan. You're gonna submit that to the approval of the township engineer?
Yes.
Okay. And similar question about your ownership and the ownership of Charles Brining or his entities to any adjacent lots?
My recollection is such that I wanna see what's above here, Mike. What's behind this lot, because I don't believe so, but I don't know. Excuse me?
But just for your benefit, your plan with the house on it
Yeah.
shows an Amy Hydock owning the one that fronts on Sunnyside, and then directly behind you, a Harry and Valerie Cornog, thank you, owning the next two, and then the Mecca's on either side of you, so
Okay.
it's showing that.
I don't wanna answer it if I don't know. and-
Yep, I'm just going by what the county records show.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Frank. Other questions? Elaine?
Yeah.
No, just questions now. so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, since it isn't a dedicated street, who's gonna maintain the street? The road? Snow and all that stuff?
It's a great question.
Yeah, thank you.
It really is. And,
We do it.
I think that what I would do is ask if you wanna enter into an agreement, so that if you don't wanna enter into an agreement, then we'll take care of ours and you take care of yours.
How will we
It's a
get
paper
past
street.
yours?
What's that?
How will we get past yours to our house if your person doesn't take care of it?
I don't know. Same way you get there now.
We take care of it.
You know, I'm sure
Well,
that.
doesn't the township have something to do with that? You know, if it's not a through street?
None of it's, none of
Not
it's,
unless it's dedicated, so if it's either the township takes care of it, or it's a private driveway that's determined by the private owners of that driveway. And I think what Mr. Clement is offering you is coming up with some type of document that would define what everybody's rights to and obligations are in relationship to that driveway, but obviously, that's amongst you guys, not with the township.
How about any buffers or anything on this property, as the others requested on the other?
That's questions to them.
What kind of, in terms of?
Trees or something, or?
No, we'll definitely, we have to put in trees because of the ordinance, okay? We will, just like the other properties, we'll put in, instead of 2 or 4 concrete pins, we'll put in 4 extra concrete pins, so that everybody knows delineated where their property line is. You know, it makes sense to put trees in, but I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna put a row of trees in between, you know, any of these houses. We're gonna you know, do what we can.
How far out does the house sit from, like our house and David? Is it in a line with it?
I think so, but let's go back to the, David's looks to me to be fairly close to the paper line of the paper street. Yours seems to be set back more. If we look at the plot plan, Mike, one more time, the plot plan, please. Yeah, mine didn't come out. Yeah, okay, so, it's 20 feet from the paper, I mean,
Like
from
it
the,
sits closer this way, closer to the,
yeah, it's 20 feet back from the legal right-of-way, and it looks to me to be about 25 feet back from the from the actual edge of the paving. And if you move, I don't think you can show it. But it's probably, looking at David's, it looks to be the same or a little more.
Oh, right there, you can see it better.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions from the neighbors?
To the board, I guess, is what they're proposing. Do you feel that this is the minimum relief or the maximum? I mean, that's a fairly large home. I believe there's.
You can answer them. You can answer them.
I didn't know if that was a question for
Well,
you.
that's something we consider, but you can ask
No,
them.
the minimum really, I mean, I feel like the previous solicitor was going through steps, and I believe one of them is,
Minimum.
to go for a variance is minimum relief.
Right.
You have a beautiful home there. I'm not gonna, I built a few homes. It's a beautiful home.
Thanks.
I personally think, I am for this as opposed to a trailer, mobile home, manufactured home.
It comes
I
down,
think it could be just slightly shrunk a little bit. It's just my personal opinion. I feel it's a little large in the space. It doesn't look that big on paper, but when you get out there, it's gonna be large. I'm not opposed to the garage.
well, here's the short, the quick and dirty answer.
Yeah.
We've got to pay a certain amount of money for this lot,
I
which is
understand that.
more than the other two lots.
And that was gonna be a question too, like,
Economics,
yeah,
well, just economics to us, we figured, okay, what's the smallest house we can put on here and still make this worthwhile for us? That's it. We thought about building a 30-foot house. All of a sudden, you don't have the flow or anything else that goes into a 40-foot house. So that, without being in any way adversarial, I don't mean to be, that's what we felt was the smallest we could build. We tried to keep it short so that you'd have a nice backyard of that, 30 feet, and that's it.
what is the square footage of the home? You have that roughly, sorry.
Yeah, no.
And if I could have a copy of this, I can get a copy of just the
I'll give you
floor
this.
plan or the.
I'll give you this whole thing.
That's fine, thank you.
You're
Just so I can show my, it's not here tonight, but just to.
I understand that very well. 40-foot house, okay, so first floor is 1,162 square feet. Second floor is 1,322 square feet for a total of 2,484 square feet.
Thank you. So just that size home on that size lot compared to the other areas, I think fairly large. I have an 11,000 square foot lot. My home is only 1,900 square feet. This is only 6,000 square foot lot.
Is it
Just-
two-story?
I'm sorry?
Two-story?
I'm two-story, yes.
Okay.
I have a 3-bedroom, I have an open foyer, I am only 1,900 square feet in my home on an 11,000 square foot lot.
Is this the first
You
name?
have a 6,000 square foot lot with
Is his
a
first
proposed
name
2,400 square foot home.
Is his name
I think there's a
David?
possibility. I love the home, I think a little smaller home would work. I like the look of it over the modular. I think it's, a lot of home in that one space.
Yeah, we're questioning.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
David, since you know the street so well, how many houses face the street?
Which one, I'm sorry? Which street?
Your Fifth Street?
Fifth Street?
Your house, your father's house, Mrs.
My house faces Sunnyside,
Okay, and then
and my father's house faces Fifth Street,
and Mrs. Beswick?
faces Sunnyside.
Okay, so there's really just one house?
That faces Fifth Street is my parents.
Okay, and then, do you have any idea who owns all those other lots?
I'm sure Michael could pull them up on the county website. There's a multitude of people. There's, 20, 40, 60 foot, I mean, it's just, so I guess that's a question to the board. If, obviously this is going to happen, whether it's a modular home by Mr. Brenning or Michael and Len, sorry?
Yeah,
Yes. And now this street is not going through, it ends at my father's property. What's to say now, hey, we're not gonna build 10 more up that left side with no street now? and the sewer does not extend up that far. Water does not extend up that far. I understand they have a buildable lot right now, but, I mean, if somebody puts the rest of them together, we're gonna have more buildable lots. So yes, I do not know who owns all them small pieces
Okay,
on the
thank you.
left. But just one house faces Fifth Street, which is my father's.
But your driveway's on Fifth?
I have a driveway, when I built my home, I put the driveway the same as the previous home, and it was the horseshoe.
Yep.
And again, at that time, Ellen had Fifth Street, the paper street paved, and I just put mine back, so I can pull in on Sunnyside and then horseshoe out, because you're not backing out on the Sunnyside.
So you have a
without-
driveway on Sunnyside and Fifth? It's a
It just
horseshoe.
connects to the paper street.
I'm just trying to make
So-
sure, I'm not sure what her question was, but then
But my house-
Ellen's driveway's on Fifth as well?
Only on Fifth, and my parents is only on Fifth.
Okay.
I
So-
have access to Sunnyside, so I cannot, this is like, you know.
So the house is front, but their driveways are come off the
So
other
yeah,
street.
I have
so-
like a horseshoe driveway. I
Yep.
can, I mean, backing out and pulling out on the sunny side, it's a racetrack anymore. It's a
understand.
racetrack anymore. So, you know, there's, obviously, a house is gonna be built. Whether it is, I don't know, but, I just think if they say they would like public water, if they're going to go to Sunnyside to get public water, I can't see where they can't, I say they, the builders and the owners here, they couldn't widen that driveway another 4 or 5 feet, just at least a pass on it. And then give the opportunity, you know, just up to their house at least. If they're gonna dig it up to put it stone and then to pave it back is not gonna be a fortune, but it would help the new owner out and Ellen and my parents out. At least they can pass at that point without going on to grass.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Other questions, and then we'll move to statements. John, questions?
Yeah, in the event that you would disallow this proposal, and you said it would go back to Charlie, in both applications by Charlie, the board here made the stipulation of about going all the way to Hillside Avenue with street, storm sewer, water, and all that stuff. And the appeal was, the way I understand it, you say, you can still put that house on there, but doesn't what your recommendation still hold?
It does not. So the court over,
They only overruled that you said that it was unbuildable.
Yep.
You agreed that if he built on it, that he could do that he has to do that.
so he appealed our decision, and our entire decision got overturned without, and that's part of what the applicants are saying, without any guidance from the court as to what that means. So it overturned our decision and said
And
he's
you don't
allowed.
have the authority to make that stipulation that if you're gonna build this house, he has to do that.
Not with Charlie, with this applicant potentially. This is a new application, so we can, if we approve this one, we can attach conditions to this one.
Those agreements don't apply to the other applications.
Correct.
Be an interpreter.
Yes.
That the court,
Yep.
what occurred, so
I'm
that,
not saying that, no, hey, I'm asking a question.
Yep.
just go.
Yeah, so just to clarify, before you jump up, so just to clarify what that is, so we had two decisions, and let me just look at them real quick, so, and I can tell you that this board was crafty in the way it did their decisions originally, in that we purposely approved some things by variance so that we can only attach conditions to approvals. We can't attach conditions to denials. Okay, so we did approve certain relief and then attach conditions to that approval and then denied some of the relief that we didn't think was appropriate for this property. Now, they then appealed the decision, let me get the right one, this one. So the one they appealed was a,
I can tell you.
Yep. So we gave them relief from the 50-foot frontage on a public street, provided that they improved Sunnyside to Hillside, Fifth Street from Sunnyside to Hillside. The problem is they appealed this decision and had this entire decision overturned. So, so that condition went to the wayside as well. So, so to answer that question, that if we deny this applicant and they go away, and it goes back to the current landowner, Charlie Brining and his entities, they have a right to build a 14 by 66 modular home on that property without making any improvements to Fifth Street, without settling any of these things that the applicant has offered you tonight. So go ahead.
My question was, where are all the construction vehicles and stuff gonna be? If you don't have that much room on your property when you're building the house.
They're gonna be, they are gonna impose upon you. I'm not gonna lie about that at all. We've gotta keep them within that paper street, okay? We don't wanna aggravate you. And so we're gonna get our people as much as we can to pull off the road. But, you know, when the concrete truck comes in there, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a pain in the neck for you while we're building it. And when the lumber truck drops the stuff off, they're gonna use as much of that as they can, back it in and drop the load there. But it's a pain in the neck.
And I have to go in and out from work multiple times a day.
Well, you know, they can't block your way, and all we can do is, you know, our workers are pretty good. We've been doing this a long
Yeah, but you
time.
don't have a lot of area here. You don't have a street that's.
We
You
don't.
gotta keep the street open so you can get by. Try to put them in our property, our lot as best as can. Have a stone driveway available.
Yeah, we put stone down and, you know, so that the tires get cleaned as best we can. But it's, you know, anytime you have somebody building next to you, it's a pain in the neck.
Well, you don't always have a street that doesn't go through where you have.
Agreed, agreed.
Ellen, right?
Yes, I just want to make sure that you're aware, my driveway, I'm sorry,
No, I can hear, Go ahead, go ahead.
my driveway, when I back out from my garage, I come out onto Fifth Street, back up the hill, go down to Sunnyside. And it's just about opposite where this property is. Now, if you have all these construction things there, I don't want anybody parking on my back fields or in my driveway.
No, they
Because
No, they won't do that.
I, you know, Mrs. Meckes is in and out all day with her job. And I'm in and out quite a bit. So, you know, if there's, when our oil truck comes, you know, they're in and out quickly. But if there's gonna be bigger trucks there unloading stuff and construction vehicles, you know, they could park down Sunnyside if they have to. But,
Well, we're gonna, as much as possible, we'll get them into that lot. I mean, it's not that it's tiny,
mhm.
and they can't block the road.
Right.
And if they do, you call the police, call us first. But, you know, we'll do the best we can to make it.
Right. Okay, now my other question is, the stormwater you're talking about.
Yeah.
When the water comes down the hill, and it drains off of this house.
Here, just push that button.
Now, where's my house? I don't even know at this point. Wait a minute. Where, that's
That's the
my
house, and then the garage is in the back. Yep.
This thing does not work.
You're up on the ceiling.
There it goes.
There you go. That's your house, yes.
Okay, then yours is over here.
Nope,
Now,
that's David's
David's
house.
house.
So your garage is right in the back.
See
Keep
the
going.
garage
That's the
back?
house,
Go up a little bit with the.
Right there's the
where your
garage.
Up a little more.
right
That's
there.
your garage.
okay, all right. Now, when the water comes down this hill, it comes right into my garage area, runs right down my steps like a river. When it came in September, it was like Niagara Falls. You couldn't even see my steps. And I'm just wondering, what kind of accommodations are you gonna make for the water runoff? Will yours go right down Paper Road, down Fifth Street?
Yeah. And there's water coming, what we are responsible for is to make sure that no greater rate of runoff comes off of that property that we're trying to buy than comes off now. Okay, so that means we gotta, you know, there have to be swales and so forth, but it will not help your situation because the water's coming from up above.
Up above, yes.
And there's never been an appropriate stormwater system up there.
Mhm.
I don't know what, you know, what there can be done there, if there can be swales dug, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like a catch-22 kind of thing here. But anyway, I do prefer the house over, you know, the trailer or whatever that Breining is doing. So that just puts me on the record for that. I do like your house much better.
Thank you, Ellen.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, also,
Do you have other questions?
yes.
Okay.
If we wanted to go ahead and get this road paved, who do we talk to about that? Do we have to go to another hearing board or?
That would be a township item, so you can come to either talk to Mike and find out when the township meeting is, try and get on that agenda, or who would she contact at the township?
My suggestion, just write a letter to us saying that this, you'd like to be placed on an agenda. You can give it to me, or you can give it, since we have an interim township manager, it might be just simpler to give it to me, and I'll make sure it gets forwarded.
Okay.
And then what, the response to that letter then would probably tell you, you know, what meeting then to come to address the township board of supervisors.
Okay.
Right.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Mike.
Ellen, here's a business card for you.
Dave, do you have a question?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if there's a question.
I think we're up to comments too. I think.
Questions.
Are we still in
Yeah, we're still in
questions?
questions.
I'm sorry, I know.
It's all right, we're bouncing all over the place.
Questions?
Question to Mike would be, like, when my father built his house, Ellen had the driveway paved at that time, up to her driveway. So then my father built his house. They agreed upon, you know, once with construction, obviously we got heavy equipment, you're talking cement trucks, everything, right? And then my dad dug the water line, so he made it better than what it was from Ellen because A, he damaged it with trucks, and B, he dug with the water line, so he improved the driveway. Would you be willing to, obviously, we can take photographs right now, because my parents and Ellen paid to have that paved as of right now. Would you be willing to say during construction, you damaged that current roadway, that cartway paving with anything, that it would be fixed to, pavement wise? I mean, again, the road, the pavement is not, it's not paved the same as Sunnyside. I mean, it's 2 or 3 inches thick. So with them paving it and taking care of it now you're gonna come in, and I'm saying if something happens to it, would you be responsible?
If it gets damaged by one of my workers or construction vehicles, yes, we would repair it.
Okay, so from concrete trucks, triaxles,
Understood.
loaders, I mean, that road's not made to take
We're
that.
not driving the track machines on there, but.
Correct, but I'm just saying,
If
heavy
it gets
heavy
unloaded,
equipment.
if it gets side unloaded and it was damaged, yes.
Okay, understood.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then as with the water issue, I think it could be handled a little bit in the sense that, if you were to have to pave that driveway, say up to Ellen's Point, if it had to be repaved, resurfaced, if it would be able to be, slanted or, tilted, crowned, it would keep the water, out of the center of Fifth Street. Now, this would benefit your potential buyers, my parents, and Ellen, because once the water hits Ellen's driveway and comes down, all it does is disperse the entire width of Fifth Street, and it becomes an ice capsule. Where if you have to repave it, if it could be crowned, that would keep the water off of the center of the road, benefiting your potential buyer and the rest of the neighbors. I'm just proposing, I'm just throwing it out there as if it had to be done.
Yeah, it's really.
No, I understand.
Listen, we will agree
Can you take a break?
I'm sorry.
Just one person?
We will agree that if we damage the road,
One person, please.
yeah,
One person at a time.
Sorry, you're, go ahead. Go ahead.
we will agree that if we damage the road, we gotta repair it. We will agree to make it a condition that we'll try to lower the box if it's possible, because I don't know how deep the sewer line is, but if it's possible, lower the box at the end of Fifth Street where it goes into Sunnyside Avenue is too high. As far as crowning the road is concerned, I don't want to agree to that. I don't want to, because I'm not sure, number one, we can do it. Number two, if we crown the road, that means any water coming down there is going to go off the crown onto your property and her property, and I don't want to be responsible for that.
Understand. I feel the stormwater at the end, I believe that's a township issue. They put that in. I don't,
told you,
I understand that, but I think they should handle their own fix. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Help them out.
Okay, any other questions before we move to statements for or against? Although I think we probably have the statements mixed in here already. So, all right, no other question. How about statements? For or against? For the record? Mr. Heiser, right?
Yes, Mr. Brian Heiser. I would like to come up and make my statement that under the condition of what we're looking at potential build on here, I appreciate the property you bring forth. It would bring a better aesthetic to our neighborhood than the other proposal. I appreciate your willingness to utilize capping as a property line delineation and the efforts that you've already said you were going to make for the water remediation. Again, I appreciate your proposal, and it's not anything against you. It is the lesser of two evils, and at this time, that's my statement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other statements for or against? Okay. Well, I think we're almost ready to deliberate here, but I do have a question. The gentleman who left a little earlier, Mr. Holliday, I think his name was? Holloway. He mentioned that you owed him trees. I don't know if something was agreed to put a buffer in. Is there any truth to that?
Well, Mr. Holloway said some things when he came in. I've never met the man, but he apparently doesn't like my partner or me.
I'm not worried about that. The only thing, if there's any truth to the trees.
He had said to me, when the kids were building that lot, he was upset. He lives on the other side of the woods. He was upset that he could see that house when the leaves fall off the trees. I said, well, it's not much I can do, but there's a woods between you. Well, can you give me trees? So I had said to him, I said, I will give you 3 pine trees. Okay, so he goes, it was 6. Was it 6? Trust me, from dealing with the public, I know what my 2 legs saying. I had said 3. Well, the day I brought my landscaper over there to show him where the trees were going to be planted, I had called, I don't know his name. He started freaking out on the phone. And like he was acting, I said, dude, I'm not doing it now. You know. And first of all, I can't go onto a homeowner's property and force him to plant trees in the middle of his backyard.
Right.
Could you repeat for the record what he called you when?
Well, I don't know if we.
Maybe not.
I just didn't know if it was part of the other agreement where, for some reason, you didn't plan on his property or the property line. This is another property that's not his, you agreed to plant trees on?
Yes.
First of all, it's not us, it's our kids.
Right, I was just out there, Mike was out there originally when he thought we were cutting the trees down on his property, he didn't even know where his property line was.
That was the first thing, he called the police on us, so I had to go out and with our surveyor, and Tim Woodrow, I think everybody met.
Tim was there also.
Tim, I don't know if Mike was there or not, but he might have been. And we said, and we had to show him where the property pins were. He was very upset and didn't believe the surveyor as to where the property pins were. He's not,
Okay. I didn't want to belabor this, but Mike, does Mike Lynn owe trees to Mr. Holliday at all, that you know of? I mean, and I'm just, to keep a neighbor happy, if we owe him 3 trees, we should give him the 3 trees if possible.
I believe that there was a arrangement for Mr. Delgriffe, or the Delgriffe organization to provide as many as 6 trees for Mr. Hollowell to do some buffering along there. It was a conversational type of thing. There was no written agreement, so I can't testify to.
Okay.
And just to be clear, it was not, it was.
I'll give him the 6 trees.
We'll give you the 6 trees.
You deal with it.
You the 6 trees. You go deal with him.
I'll give you the 6 trees.
And I just want to clarify, that was not part of any township approval of that development. It was a conversation that happened out in the field.
That's correct.
Okay.
It was an as-built.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we're going to take a short recess, we'll be back.
Drop them off. I mean, geez.
I would like to call the meeting to order. We're going to make a few different motions. We're going to start in the order we heard the hearings. We're going to start with hearing number 2, Z-21-24. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Joe, for hearing number 2, Z-21-24 for Mike Lynn, LLC, P.O. Box 243, Fairview Village, Pennsylvania. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the applicant's request for variance with the following 3 conditions: that the applicant provide public water and sewer for the property, that the applicant provide a stormwater management plan to be submitted to the township engineer for approval, and that 8 concrete monuments be installed to designate the associated property line for the property.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. We're going to jump to Z-21-26. Kathy, can you read
Yeah,
our
I make
motion?
a motion that we, make a motion that we approve Z-2126, Mike Link LLC, and their request for relief from 143-37 with the following conditions. Public sewer, best effort to get public water, stormwater plan to be submitted to the township for approval, and 8 monuments to be denoted the property line.
I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And for the last hearing we heard, Z-21-25, I'm going to turn it over to our solicitor. Art?
On this one, there's other issues that the board wants to consider and look into. There's complications that the street's not public in front of this one. It's a paper street, shared driveway, actually, amongst several property owners. It's a larger tract, larger lot. So they want to take that one under advisement, and they will postpone a decision on that one till their next meeting on December 23rd at 7 o'clock in this room, correct?
That is correct.
We'll render a decision. There won't be any further testimony that evening. It'll just be the board rendering its decision on that application.
Thank you, Eric. Can I have a motion to dismiss?
Yes, so be.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned, and the next meeting is December 23rd at 7 o'clock.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too, guys. Happy Thanksgiving all.
Thank you, too.